Through the prayers of Holy Fathers, so Jesus Christ, our God of mercy on us and save us. Amen. Good evening. For those new here, this is Father Joseph Swaden. I've worked in Orthodox apologetics since 1998, and I'm the founder of NFTU, True Orthodox and Ecumenical News, since 2004. We've been in the apologetic space on Facebook since 2016 and on YouTube since 2018 and on X since forever. And if you appreciate what we do here, please like and subscribe. Today we do our live Q&A session where you can get your questions answered live, as well as member requested video reviews. So let's get started. And if you want to jump on stream to ask a question or make a comment, just click the link in the top of the chat. I will be taking super chats from the YouTube chat. If you want your question or comment without super chatting, I'll answer it, but you might miss it if I don't put it up. So let's get started with the comments. So Grape Ape 5555 says, first, yes, you are. Little Wing with a member chat says, shall be last and the last shall be first. Indeed. And that's a member chat, so it goes up on the screen first. Maximus 2010 says, the WTC Shrine Church, for those who don't know, that was the Greek Orthodox Church that used to be administered by Metropolitan Pavlos of Astoria, eventually joined with the new calendarists, just had a Coptic wedding inside the church. Well, I mean, considering the history, I mean, if you go to Orthodox Traditionalist, it seems like every Coptic service that they have with the Greek Archdiocese is being held in that church. Let me see here. Reposted Avlona, Texas Bishop consecration in Greece on DTC channel. I thought he was already consecrated. Maybe this is another Texas bishop. I'm not sure. Yeah, tranquil sounds of water. Yeah, and you know, I thought it was a nice looking doggo, and I thought it would be, pleasant to start something off with, because we got questions, we got debates, we got people interested in the fight this week. And so I thought I would start with something peaceful and friendly before we go to war. That's right. Okay. So let me see here. Anthony the Mech says, very good stream yesterday. What a blessing. Hopeful for Father John too. I didn't know he was going to be there. I have not spoken to Father John in a few years, so I was not expecting that. I didn't know what to do. I actually was kind of expecting a debate, and then it became what it did. So credit to the host. I might show a little bit of that debate for those who haven't seen it. Zealot's letter says, Father Joseph, I received the history of resistance in the jail the other day. Oh, in the mail. Those are very different. Thank you very much. It will be a great read. Yeah, it will. I'm sure you're going to like it. Great Man says, what's up, Debt to Compromise? And Zealot's letter says, Father John who? I wasn't there. It was Father John Claypool, who was under Bishop Irenaeus of the Jerusalem not Bishop. Was that Irenaeus? Yeah, we have a Bishop Irenaeus, Patriarch Irenaeus. Yeah, Irenaeus of the Jerusalem Patriarchate. And then when he passed, well, I mean, he's aware of the stuff in the Holy Land, like the Bishop of Haifa, etc. So I figured we'll just tell him to go there. I mean, instead of just sitting there wasting his time, because Bishop Irenaeus wasn't, Jerusalem wasn't communion with the Roqueret, etc. So didn't seem that to me. It seemed like a non-issue. So I hope that answers the question. So yeah, we've already got a couple of questions for this week before we even touch on how do I put this? I guess it's like dire adjacent drama. Yes, Zealot's letter. I figured it out. You put mail underneath. You were not in jail. Yes, it would have been a very different address, and I would have had to address it completely differently. So, but yeah, absolutely. So we will see a little bit of that tonight. There has been dire adjacent drama because I went on that channel because I guess they have been having a bit of a brouhaha, and I will be using this term very loosely and often tonight, a brouhaha, with the dire. And apparently, like, the Dyer is now trying to clout Goblin God Logic, who's a Protestant apologist who deals with Muslims. So he's like trying to see if he can get him to argue. It's just dumb. And so these guys basically argue with the Ortho Bros. And I said, okay, I mean, I figured I would be arguing on our own behalf as true Orthodox, but they seemed more interested in what we knew about, about the dire trolls, etc. And so that's what we did. And JP said he might come on tonight, but he's working, so who knows? But I will show a little bit of yesterday's discussion with Mahler Truth Cartel, I believe his name is, and he was a good host. He was very gracious and very interesting guy. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm sure that I will be back. I'd love to debate the Orthodox positions as opposed to just dealing with, that guy, Clout Goblin. So in any case, let's get right to it. Let's get right to our first topic for tonight. And our first topic is the heretical baptisms question. And this was a question from the cafe. It was not publicly made, it was privately made. So I have decided to answer the person anonymously, but I'm sure they will recognize their question. So let me start by sharing the screen. And this is in the mighty Oh, no, this is the wrong one. Oh, no, you guys are seeing my script, the script I use every time I come in. Anyway. Oh, boy. Anyway, so let's see here. Very professional here. We do things professionally. Bless Father, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I listened to a recent NFTU live stream, and the subject of baptism and chrismation of Roman Catholics, Protestant reformers, and evangelical converts came up. Something that gets glossed over is that most evangelical and even some Protestants who just kept on reforming don't actually believe in baptism to begin with. It's one thing to say that their sacrament wasn't performed correctly, performed by a heretic priest outside the church, so on and so forth. But for many, the divide is much wider than that. They actually don't even believe baptism is for the remission of sins, for salvation, or part of any salvific process, nor is it part of being brought into the church. Many would say it's a proclamation or confession of faith. So it's not even really correct to say that they had an incorrectly performed or heretical baptism, that the church is now healing through chrismation. It's that the ceremony in and of itself denies the very purpose of baptism to begin with. The way the argument is usually presented makes it seem like the person was either as an infant or child, through the choice of their parents or family, or as an adult by their own choice, had the desire to be baptized, but because of ignorance or deception are Catholic, Anglican, Lutheran, etc., have a need to be brought into the church, and the true church and body of Christ through baptism and chrismation. But this is not even the case. How can baptisms, where it is explicitly said and believed that it is only an outward confession of what already happened, and explicitly said and denied that baptism is for the remission of sins, for salvation, for being brought into the body of Christ, be brought into the church through chrismation? What exactly is the Holy Spirit sealing? An utter denial of baptism itself? Maybe I'm ignorant and need clarity, because this makes no sense to me at all. Granted, many are doing this out of ignorance and deception, not malice or intentions, but instead of baptism, it's more like a mockery of baptism. Lord, forgive me if I'm blind or have had bad judgment, but the conversation doesn't ever seem to go far enough once it starts including people who use the word baptism, but have created an entirely new meaning for it. If you deem it prudent, feel free to correct me or bring it up on your next live stream. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Apologies for all the typos. Well, no apologies are necessary there, cafe person. Yes, if you want to write me on the cafe and ask questions for the stream, you can do that. So to answer that question, I think you've hit the heart of what is the motivation behind the baptismal controversy that we are experiencing in the 20th and 21st centuries. Nobody in the earliest days of the church, the heretics at that time, believed that baptism was for other than the remission of sins, except for like a few really obscure sects that had to be rebaptized again. But for the most part, we're hitting an age that is not that different from the age of the ecumenical councils, almost devolved to the point of the beginning of Christianity, where people, random sects are coming up with their own strange meanings to confession, to baptism, and it forced the church abroad, for example, to put out a statement, and I believe it was 71 or 1973, one of the two, explaining that even the similitude of baptism among Western confessions was largely, for the most part, gone. By contrast, World Orthodoxy and SCOBA, to be specific, operated under certain underlying assumptions that Catholics had valid baptism, Lutherans had valid baptism, etc. They literally had a laundry list of which Protestants were okay and which ones weren't. That has largely disappeared down the memory hole, but you can still find lists that do cover that. And I'm sure if you ask your ecumenist friends nicely, they can, like the older ones, they can actually produce a list. So in any case, yeah, so that's part of the problem there, and that's part of the reason why we often will just do baptism anew, because the old one, even the concepts of what it meant to be introduced into the body of Christ through baptism were things that were lost on them. For many people, baptism is considered a symbol, just a symbol that you're celebrating your life in Christ, and that's not what it means. So yeah, I think what you're expressing there, cafe reader, is, to be quite frank, the mind of the church on this matter, and that we have to be cautious when it comes to receiving people. And that's all there is to it. It's not to be negative or to try to put people down, but to simply explain that they were not in the church and there were probably problems with the baptism. And I've heard horror baptism stories of just things that were definitely not baptism. They involved water, but oftentimes they were not really baptisms proper at all. So totally get that, and thank you for the question. Let's go here and then get up to new questions here. Get it 8334 says, how does one become Orthodox? I just forgot to do something, and I am going to do it. I'm going to do it from now on, and I apologize. It is something that I'm going to be, because I get this question so many times. So many times. And I tell people to go into the description, and in the description, you'll find maps. The maps that, you can find true Orthodox churches and so on and so forth. And it seems no one ever finds those. So, what I'm going to do, I guess I can't do it while I'm live. Okay, after I'm live, if you look in the description right now, you'll see maps of the true Orthodox churches throughout the world. They're not by any means complete. Oftentimes, they're just the cathedrals in countries outside the US, etc. But there's a lot in enough that you can call your local, true Orthodox communities and see what you can find that are closer in your area. So we'll see. Let me see here. Leonidas said in a conversation with Cleave to Antiquity recently, the best argument against the true Orthodox was that their original Episcopal consecrations were uncanonical. Thoughts? Okay, well, first, to answer, get it, to just finish off, check the description and find the maps. That way you can find a true Orthodox church near you. Leonidas, in answer to this question, which is a good question, I have not seen that. I wanted to actually review it because I saw that somebody had done a 16-minute clip concerning the Monophysites. And I thought the title screen was very interesting because it listed all the reasons that the Monophysites were uncanonical, but it didn't list heresy. So I thought I would touch on that one. But my thinking is that they followed what we could call a bare canonical minimum, and that historically in the councils has been enough, and usually in reunion councils that was sufficient for recognition. And I think that in all of the cases of the true Orthodox, for the most part, that has been largely accomplished. I don't think there's any groups that have not done their best to maintain apostolic succession. So yeah, I would say if that's his best argument, and I'm assuming based on the discussion we had when I was floating in the void and we talked, was probably his argument, his strongest argument would be the Vicente Checolin argument, but even that doesn't invalidate all the true Orthodox consecrations, and they did a lot of correction after that once they realized that he was basically a KGB agent. Let's take a look here. Ruffling Steaks says, sorry if someone already asked this, but does the true Orthodox accept World Orthodox baptisms? Sometimes it depends on the priest. It depends on the bishop's view of their baptism. It depends on how they were done. But I will say that for the most part, the World Orthodox do not accept any of our baptisms. And if you make the mistake of saying that you were baptized true Orthodox, they will try to rebaptize you. Ironically, they won't do that if you're a Roman Catholic or most Protestants, but they will do it if you're true Orthodox. Let's see. Debt to Compromise says Father John Claypool. The C2A clip sounds interesting. Yes. Let's see here. It says here Taylor Hurden. That's our reader John. Father bless. May God bless you. The Father from the Holy Spirit. And so let us get to question 2. This one was sent to me a good 4 or 5 times. So, and once again, because I noticed we've been here now for about 15, 20 minutes. This is a live Q&A session. So if you want to jump on stream to ask a question or make a comment, just click the link. Click the link. It is, it's up there for a reason. It's a live Q&A. Anyone can come on. You can call and you can ask a question. You can issue a challenge. You're free to do what you want, man. So let me see here. And so anyone can jump on with that. It's a link in the YouTube on the top there, the pinned link, and on X that is listed in the chat window. So let us, I'm going to say that, and let's see here. I got a couple new comments. Let's see here. The Orthodox Field asks, have you ever met an old believer that was part of a synod? To answer that question honestly, simply, and firmly, no. Zealot says, old believers are very interesting. All heretics are interesting. But unless they're, Popozzi that, are Indino-Varian, accept the councils, etc., and have made peace with the rest of the church, to me, they're as risky as any other type of heretic. It's they're just Russian Amish to me. So it does. We have plenty of Amish where I live. So I mean, let me see here. Zealot's letter says, I've met the priest sect of old believers. They have churches in Oregon. Yeah, they have a couple in certain parts of Pennsylvania too, as well as unpriested or Bepopotsi. So yeah, to me that is I am not impressed by the old believers. I think that they have very, very beautiful services, etc. But that's not what makes you Orthodox. This is one of the reasons I point this out, and people hate to hear this, but I do point this out whenever people start romanticizing about the old believers, that right before the Soviet takeover, around that time, the Uniate Archbishop Andrei Sheptitsky, if you know anything about, he's a very famous Uniate bishop, realized that the old believers were so superficial about their rites that he could probably create a Roman Catholic Uniate rite following the old believer practice. And it worked. There are, in fact, old believer Uniates because the old believers were so obsessed with their rite that the faith became less and less relevant. And all they had to do was convince them you can have your rites and accept the Pope. And they were like, well, okay. So when the truth of orthodoxy becomes a secondary condition, don't follow it. Let's see here. Ruffling Steak says, what's the true Orthodox view of the canonization of Seraphim Rose? Fun fact, the Rocoré, to be specific, canonized him first. They canonized him last year, and the rest of world Orthodoxy has been in a brouhaha, if you will, since then, especially with the recent Rocor MP news. As a matter of fact, the second news story is the St. Seraphim brouhaha, where we will be discussing the various problems that they're having with this, with the whole glorification of the Holy Father Seraphim sort of thing. So we are now going to deal with the St. Seraphim brouhaha. Let's just make sure we got it. And old believer groups helped overthrow the Tsar, says Debt to Compromise. He's absolutely right. Unfortunately, the old believers did act as a destabilizing force to the government many times in their 400-year history. Zealot's letter says brouhaha. Yes, a brouhaha. Ruffling Steak says, yay, I guess, for this topic. So let's put it up. This has been something that we got, of course, in our messages to kind of like, because people, I mean, I'm going to be a little hard. I'm going to be a little hard on the listeners. A lot of people send me stuff that they could really kind of answer themselves if they took the time. And that's kind of what I feel bad, because I need to start encouraging that more, saying to people, do your own research. As a matter of fact, You know what? Before I even put this up on the screen, I'm making a banner for that. I'm making a banner for perpetual rule. Do your own research. This is a perpetual rule that is very important if you want to learn Orthodox apologetics. You must do your own research. If you don't do your own research and you keep asking people, I am not in the business of thinking for people. That's Jay Dyer's job, and I'm not about that life. So, let me see here. Let's see. There was old believer proselytizing. There was, and there still is. And they think that now that the true Orthodox are popping up, they're like, this is our opportunity. Same thing with the Monophysites. They're like, yay, it's our opportunity, because whoever tries to represent Chalcedonian Orthodoxy has to do a good job. And as we know, people like David Erhan don't do a good job of anything. So this is part of the reason why now we have to pick up the slack and deal with the Monophysites and old believers ourselves. So we will eventually get there. Matthew Metanoia writes, only born-again Christians can be baptized. Everything else isn't baptism. We're saved by faith in the gospel of Jesus Christ. That I would say that unless you're believing, you can't be baptized. And if you're not following how you're supposed to be baptized, you can't be baptized. And if you don't know how to baptize, you're not baptizing. Anthony Lemecq says, a lot of info and sources online are contradictory. The ability to research material is not an American skill. Literacy rate is at 55% at a sixth grade level in America. Okay, I am operating under the impression that the overwhelming majority of people who have made it to my channel have a sixth grade level of education or higher. And really, the issue is not a comprehension issue, it's a categorization issue, and that can be solved by practicing with the Dewey Decimal System. But I'm not going to just sit here and say that I've also done simple courses on how to do apologetics. It's on the front page. Like, people need to start doing that. And I'd love to just make excuses for that, but I can't. It can't just be, I will not excuse everyone going, Father Joseph, can you answer this, when it's very easily answered on your own. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that because we got to put this up, because this got sent to me, and my job is to answer questions, but also to help you answer questions. So here we go. About probably 5-6 people sent this to me, and it was from a Silouan Wright. And apparently he is he's very, very, he seems pretty upset and defensive about Rocor's recent move towards the glorification of Father Seraphim Rose. Old calendarists have predictably rushed to claim him as a defender of their cause. Well, part of the reason that we rushed to claim him as a defender of our cause is because he was in communion with true Orthodox all over the world, just like the rest of the church abroad, until he died. That, to me, is a pretty straightforward reasoning, but not for Silouan, who wants to prove otherwise. The argument is always the same, says Silouan. Father Seraphim supported the old calendarists. His real adversaries were only the extremists at Holy Transfiguration in Monastery in Boston, and his criticisms never applied to the genuine old calendarist movements. I'd like to comment on this because it is a little bit on the ignorant side. And the first comment I have to add to this is that his criticisms never applied to the old calendarists who were actually old calendarists. Holy Transfiguration Monastery in Boston, until a couple of years after Father Seraphim's repose, was part of the Russian church abroad. So they were not the old calendarists until a couple of years after he passed. So this is kind of goofy. And he says, and I hate using that term, but I'm seeing it so much, and people are just calling each other goofy, and it's awful. They insist that later publishers censored his old calendarist writings to serve an ecumenist agenda. That is actually true. They literally removed the true Orthodox of Greece from Orthodoxy and the religion of the future. So that's not an insistence. That's just the truth. This is a story they tell every person who encounters Father Seraphim's name for the first time. Good. I'm glad we're effective. I'm glad that we're getting out the truth that your side tried to cover up, Silouan. Old calendarists misrepresent the record. But did we misrepresent the record by changing his words after he died? Because that's what your side did, buddy. quoting his early sympathy while ignoring the sustained criticisms he leveled at them as he descended during and after the death of Father Seraphim rose into zealotry, schism, and blasphemy. Fun fact, Father Seraphim didn't always agree with the Rocor Synod either. He was controversial because he always spoke his mind. And this is part of the reason that party line enthusiasts were not a fan of Father Seraphim. I remember the first wave of people who were converted by Father Seraphim, and they were actually very critical of the Rocor because of the treatment of St. John of Shanghai and other reasons. So let's see here. What follows is the full record. Father Seraphim's own writings, letters, and recorded lectures cited by source and timestamp, proving that his critique was directed at old calendarist ecclesiology as a whole. Well, here's the problem. First off, you will never get the full record of Father Seraphim Rose's belief from a Facebook post. If you want to get that, you need to go to this page. Discerning Thoughts or thoughtsintrusive.wordpress.com, and you can click on Letters of Father Seraphim Rose, 1961 to 1982. And as you can see, this is a list of hundreds of letters. Let me see here, 328 to be specific. Just the table of contents of the letters is bigger. I'm pretty sure it's bigger than what's allowed for a Facebook post. So I just have this weird feeling that this is just not going to be complete or in any way, shape, or form. So this is where it gets interesting. They get into he gets into whether he denies or accepts grace. One of the things that is very important to understand in Orthodox ecclesiology is that Orthodox are generally loath to declare people anathema who haven't directly received one. So it becomes very iffy for us to say, because people say, do I have grace? Well, how would I know? I mean, I'm not God. But this kind of position, where Father Seraphim says, we do not deny the grace of your sacraments any more than you deny ours. Now, that's interesting in and of itself, because that actually does not necessarily defend his position. Silouan's, not Father Seraphim's. Because at the time, they were very often, new calendarists were very often saying that old calendarists did not have grace of the mysteries. So in saying, we do not deny the grace of your sacraments any more than you deny ours, simply is saying, well, we say it as much as you do. Well, fun fact, new calendarists say that a lot. So that doesn't actually say anything. Then he gets to a lecture on George Calciu in 1981. And he says this, and this is, he mentions Father Dimitri Dudko, which actually, I forget if it was Father Gleb or Father Seraphim who St. Philaret wrote a letter to, warning him that Father Dimitri Dudko had fallen into a very painful fate. Then it says, old calendars will point out that Father Seraphim never concelebrated with New Calendar Greeks and criticized ecumenism just as strongly as he criticized zealotry. That is incorrect. He criticized ecumenism way more than he criticized zealotry. But Silouan's not going to tell you that. Both are true and neither helps their case. No, I think it does help our case if he never concelebrated with you and only concelebrated with us. Yeah, I think that helps our case a lot. See, guys, what I'm saying is just if you think it through, the answer is just right there. Opposing ecumenism while remaining in communion is prophetic witness within the church. Prove it. Well, prove it. This is the Father Peter Here's position. Well, how'd that work out for him? Declaring gracelessness, setting up parallel synods, it's schism. Father Seraphim chose the first path his entire life. The old calendarist chose the second. Need I remind everyone that when Father Seraphim died, the Russian Church abroad was not in communion with almost everybody on earth, including Serbia. Jerusalem is like kind of iffy. Old calendarists deliberately blur this distinction. No, we don't. They treat cessation of commemoration and schism as the same thing because this conflation is how they recruit. No, we don't. We don't treat schism as a good thing at all. We do treat cessation of commemoration and going under a real bishop as the same thing because those are the same thing. Leaving ecumen bishops is the right thing to do according to the canons. Saint Paisios, he's commemorating. Okay, I don't care about Paisios. Elder Paisios, blah, blah, blah. Let me see here. Every saint who seeks commemoration of a heretical bishop did exactly this, separated temporarily, submitted to future councils, and never established a permanent alternative institution. This is also false. But if you'd like to get proof, and you don't have that proof yet, I would like to remind everyone, if I may, that there is a book that is completely dedicated to this, and Zealot's Letter got a copy of it for a winning thing. It's called The History of Resistance, and it is by Subdeacon Nectarios Harrison, who is cited in this Facebook post, which details all the cases throughout church history about parallel jurisdictions, so on and so forth, proving that Silouan is lying. So let's continue on, and let's go a little further here. And so let's see. ROCOR rejected the 1974 Graceless encyclical. Congratulations. That was not ROCOR's encyclical, so they were not obligated to do that. And then, so old calendars try to narrow Father Seraphim's later criticisms to the Boston monastery of Father Pantaleon alone. This is dishonest. Father Seraphim was fighting against Matthewite ecclesiology being imported to ROCOR through Father Pantaleon's circle. The problem with this is that Father Seraphim was involved in various different groupings with the Greek Old Calendarists. That much is well known. And so it is not as simple as he was criticizing Boston and criticizing the Matthewites. It wasn't so much a critique of entire ecclesiology. Father Seraphim occasionally seemed to take sides among the parties and felt that the way to deal with things is to be as moderate as possible, considering all the fracturing. No one is denying this. And yes, in 1980, he does complain about this and then chooses a side with the, what is the name of them? They became the Cyprianites before the Cyprianites, the Callistocism. Let's see here. And then, so he puts in some more quotes out of context. And then on top of that, he argues that modern old calendarists are Matthewites in Florinite clothing. No, that's not what happened. In 1950, the Florinites and the Matthewites had already declared they had an identical ecclesiology. So to claim that now, it's silly. Yes, we know some history. Hopefully some people will learn this. Their own apologist proves the point. And then he says, Subdeacon Nectarios, referring to Subdeacon Nectarios, the author of The History of Resistance, himself concedes the point. In his pamphlet, he distinguishes two meanings of Florinite ecclesiology. And that's true because what we're talking about is the pre-1950 and post-1950 statements. But it gets he tries to basically argue that St. Chrysostom was not actually in schism, didn't claim that the new calendars were not in schism. But St. Chrysostomus goes back to the proper position, which, by the way, is as much as they say the Matthewite position, it is also the new calendarist position. Because remember that the new calendarists officially do not recognize that the Matthewites have sacraments or that the rest of us have sacraments. So they specifically say they adopted the Matthewite position to demonize the Matthewites, when in fact they hold the exact same position, unless you're a Roman Catholic. Then it's okay. So that's basically what it comes down to. And the rest of it is just more of this stuff. He's mad about St. Seraphim and ROCOR, which is why he refers to Subdeacon Nectarios' pamphlet. And I am just going to put up Subdeacon Nectarios' pamphlet so that people can reach out if they'd like to get that. And that is from here, St. Seraphim Rose and the Old Calendarists. And I am going to put this in the links. I will put it in the chat, and I will also put it on Amazon. It's the Amazon link. It is only $10, so you can see what they're talking about and all that stuff. And so that is why the brouhaha is becoming the way it is, and why they are so mad. And so just keep that one in mind. So with that in mind, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And we are going to read comments, people, because we've got quite a few. Okay. Let's see. Roffling State says, how did ROCOR treat St. John of Shanghai? Not well. During the last years of his life, they basically supported the lawsuit against him by the parish, and he basically passed on of exhaustion. Can you link in the comments? Yes, I have done that for that part. If you're talking about the book or you're talking about the Facebook post, if you're talking about the Facebook post, I can link to that too. It is Silouan Wright's post. Who is Seraphim Wright? I don't know. Silouan Wright is ridiculous. Matt Metanoia is a heretic. I know, we know, but that's okay. We hope he becomes Orthodox. Tomcat Savanas, thank you so much. $13.99 for a super sticker. First donation of the night. So that is a big thing. And he said, hello, I came to say hello, blessing, Father, watching hockey. May God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So thank you so much for that. Enjoy the game and come back because sports is boring. Anyway, and so we can add that to the total. So now our total for this week, because of the fact that we're in pain, folks. We're in pain. We are constantly trying to move forward, and there's always something that moves us a step back. Health issues have been a pain. They're getting better, but I realize that there's more that has to be done. So we're currently at 236 for the goal. We have made 14 thanks to Tom's generous donation of $13.99. So thank you for that. Once again, very much appreciated. So who is Silouan Wright? I don't know. I just know that I got a whole bunch of people sending me his article. I have no idea. People send me articles and I respond. That's how interactive this stream is, ladies and gentlemen. You send me articles and I put them up and stuff. And so let me see here. What else? Let's see. Isn't the hardline position not to accept Father Seraphim Rose as Orthodox since he was received through chrismation? No. In general, no. He was received at a time when the Russian Church had not yet hammered its position out, and he was also baptized as an Anglican back before they went totally crazy, so they had at least some concept of what baptism was. So yeah, it was common in the Russian Church, not perfect, and they did fix it to receive people by chrismation. And I will not go down that slippery slope. There are people who say that, and they are not the majority of true Orthodox by any means. There are people like Gregory of Colorado who say that St. Elizabeth, the new martyr, was never received into Orthodoxy, but she was baptized in her blood, even though she was like a nun for like 25 years and ran a monastery. Like, those are the dangerous, slippery slopes you go down when you start doing stuff like that. Don't do that. Don't follow people who do that, because those are people who want you to eventually return to the hell of heresy. Regulated 392 says there were numerous issues with him, not just the chrismation thing. I will agree with that, but there were numerous issues with a lot of people, and frankly, a lot of people believe he's a saint, and miracles are happening, and so I've always thought that there's a good chance he was a saint. Let me see here. Ryan Maya says, shouldn't the Orthodox Church be more interested in improving relations ecumenically with you than the Roman Catholic Church? Doesn't make much sense to me. I can make it make sense. I will help you make sense of it. We are in direct conflict over the question of who is the Orthodox Church. And although people are now discovering us in the Anglophone world, we've existed here for the better part of 7 decades. Because of that, and because we're becoming more and more visible, people are realizing that when you say, welcome to the Orthodox Church, we are the one true church established by Jesus Christ and established by the Holy Spirit at Pentecost in AD 33 AD. We love celebrating with the Roman Catholics and with the Protestants. They're our brothers in Christ. Things stop making sense right about then. You're either the true church or you're not. And so the whole point is that they are they've presented this monstrosity, this ecumenist monstrosity and pro-Soviet monstrosity as orthodoxy. So when they find out that there is an entire world of anti-ecumenists, true Orthodox all over the world, and anti-Sergionists, martyrs, and stuff like that all over the world, then it makes people reconsider whether they're really in the Orthodox Church when they see things like taking a saint's cathedral and bulldozing it. So yeah, that is part of the reason why they don't want us to find this out. I think that with things like the Kiprianites, the Synod Resistance, I should say that's more proper, they did try to improve things with the new calendarists. And I think that what ended up happening was the new calendarists, being liars, basically took advantage of that. And that has caused problems for true orthodoxy, more problems than just being direct. And so, yeah, that's my view. And the simple reality is that their leadership still want to baptize us, still want to treat us like we don't exist. Well, that's fine. That's fine, because there are millions of us all over the world. We don't need to prove anything to them. We just need to keep doing what we're doing. And if they don't change and reunite with us, we'll just outlive them. That's how it goes. And so let's see here. Regulated says it's because they're ecumenist heretics. They absolutely despise true Orthodox and persecute them at any chance, but will pray with condemned heretics. You know, that's so good. I'm putting it up free on the screen. That you earned that, Regulated 392. That sounds very true, and it's very accurate. Little Wing with a member chat says winning. The Orthodox Field says they would rather us join their heresy instead of repenting and becoming Orthodox. Very true. Father Boniface here says benedicite. Talking about the website with the letters, could you link that? Absolutely. One moment, please. Da-da-da-da. Thoughts intrusive. And I have put that up. And Paul W. Hall with a member chat. Thank you so much, Paul. And so we are moving along now. This is great. We've got some movement. Just remember, I try to get to 75% of the goal by 10:30, the 2-hour mark. And if we make it, we continue on. If we make it to the goal, we'll go on till 11:30. But just adding this on, $9.99, so it's now $24. And so let me add that there and there and there. So we're now at $226 for the goal at $24 for the evening. And so, yeah, well, that's the goal. And don't forget, if you want to jump on stream to ask a question or make a comment, click the link. This is what that show is for. This is kind of what we do here. We have chats, we have discussions. And so let me go back. Let's see here. And so, and hold on. Let me shut that off. So once again, help us keep the lights on. Support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XMR, or on Give, Send, Go. Just look in the description. All right, so let's continue on. Gregory 2XL. I don't know what that means. It's like Gregory 2XL. I mean, 2XL means extra large. But, I mean, Gregory, which Gregory? He was baptized as a Methodist, not an Anglican. Now, from what I understand, Methodists are basically like one step away from an Anglican because they kind of became like Arminians. But past that, they're basically the same thing. Roffling Stakes thought, I always thought that was the logical conclusion of Father Peter Hears. No one accepted through chrismation as Orthodox. Yeah, and he's with the new calendar Romanians now, and so he holds the positions of Gregory of Colorado. So I guess that's, what do they call that? The horseshoe hype theory that, the extremes of both sides will eventually meet in the center or something. HMLDJR, thank you so much for a $2 super chat. So I will add that to the total. Thank you so much as we continue. And once again, if we get to 75%, we will stay till 11. If we get to 100%, we will stay till 11:30. Let's add that on. And so, and make that 224. If we succeed, if we make it by 1,000 cuts, I am down. So let's continue on. We are now at $26 for the evening. Memento Mori says, hold on. Father bless. God bless you. In the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Greetings. Did you go over the article from Timothy Flanders about leaving Orthodoxy for the RCC? Timothy Flanders. Oh boy, I wasn't sent that article. I don't think. If you did, I missed where you sent it. But no, if you could be a bit more specific, give me the title of the article, and we will review it after we do the thing where we talk about going on Mahler Truth Cartel yesterday. And once again, it is a live Q&A show. I realize that when there's no one else talking, I flail around and people are like, that's hilarious. He looks like a large otter. And but it's better when there's more people talking. That's my personal view. So if you want to jump on stream to ask a question or make a comment, just click the link in the top of the chat. Okay, so I will definitely take a look to see if we can review Timothy Flanders' article afterwards. Anthony Lemech says, thank you, Father. No problem. Leonidas said, would the deposition of a pope by the emperor and Roman synod be valid? Doesn't it take all the other patriarchs to depose a patriarch? To my knowledge, that was not originally a rule. I believe that the pope could be deposed by a local synod, and I think patriarchs can as well, with the consent of the emperor. To my knowledge. The idea that they'd have to be condemned by all the other patriarchs, I'm not even sure where that comes from, because I don't think there is a canon that says that. So I don't know. Memento says, I posted it to the cafe. 1 Peter 5, I left Orthodoxy for the church led by Pope Francis, and I don't regret it. Yeah, of course. I will hit on to that article as soon as we can. Welcome, Father Boniface.
Benedicite.
Benedicite. Christ is risen.
He's risen indeed.
Amen. So let's see here. So we'll go over that article in a little bit. I want to go to the Mahler TUC thing just to touch on it because it was an interesting experience. I did invite JP of JP Uncut. He works with Mahler a good deal of the time. I did invite him with a link for today in case he wanted to talk about the issues that he had with the ortho bros because they just are not good at doing anything except fighting with people. And Ancient Churchianity. Ooh, that is a terrible name, buddy. Matthew 10:8 says, you have freely received, freely give, heal the sick, raise the dead. Matthew 28:19-20 says, make disciples of all nations and teach them to observe all things as I've commanded. Ancient Churchianity says, why haven't you raised the dead if you freely received? Because you have to be like a really super high level of holiness to raise the dead. For example, St. John of Shanghai, who passed on and died in 1966, famously did raise a couple of dead people. From what I understand, our elder Theodore Ertel, in the, I think I want to say like late 1970s, also did a prayer, woke a dead person, and this was in France, I believe. It does happen, but it is extremely uncommon. That and people deny those left and right. But yeah, they do happen. But as to why I don't raise the dead, that is because I am a terrible person. So I hope that helps. Anita says maybe it's an idea that arose after the collapse of the Eastern Emperor, no more emperor. Maybe that's possible. HMLDR says, Memento Mori, why are you here then? With a member chat. I think he just wants the answer to the review of that article. I will be glad to review it. Kind of a goofy, gotta stop using the word goofy. I don't like the word goofy, but I keep seeing it a lot. Kind of a stupid article. I'm gonna go with stupid instead of goofy. It sounds better. Let's see. Ancient Christianity, have you raised the dead? Ancient Churchianity says, wrong. Peter said, not by my own holiness. Well, okay, my artistic little friend. I have not mastered the art of raising the dead. Maybe you can tell me a little bit more about it and how you did it. Orthodox N says, St. Seraphim Rose was received by chrismation, as was St. Elizabeth the New Martyr. Yes, I am aware. That is not a precedent, however, for the modern era where that was changed because of the changes in modern Christianity. I cannot emphasize this enough. Ancient Churchianity quotes Acts 3:12 to try to emphasize that St. Peter did not do it by his own power. We know that St. Peter did not do it by his own power. He cannot. No human can raise the dead by their own power. That's not what I said, though. What I said is, I am not sufficiently holiness, by the way. Gesundheit, Father. And so that's foolish, unless you are raising the dead regularly, which I know you're not. I don't think you really have a right to judge me on that. If the most extreme demons require prayer and fasting, raising the dead requires quite a lot. Jeff Dutcher says, isn't it predicted in the last days we won't work miracles? It will be enough just to confess the faith. Yes, if it is the last days. Memento Mori says, because I'm interested in the show, when I have time, I tune in on Sundays. What do you think I am? I have no idea, Memento. I will get to your article. You've always been a class act on the show, so I have no reason to be negative. Leonidas says, the Russian Church did not subscribe to the Council of Constantinople 1755 and continued to receive people by chrismation. The 1755 Council only applied locally. Not exactly. What the Moscow Council of 1620 actually advised that Roman Catholics were supposed to be baptized. The change that you see about 3 generations later in the Russian Church is due to the effects of the Unia, where suddenly there were Eastern Rite Catholics claiming to have the same baptisms as the Orthodox. So that's really what caused the confusion. Ancient Churchianity says, you said by their holiness while claiming it was due to the saints. I feel like you may not know what the word holiness means, but you're always welcome to come on. Because, this is not a serious discussion until you do. And so, if you're going to claim that we're not raising the dead, so we're not proper Christians, I'll just block you unless you have something real to say here. Because that's a terrible metric. St. Paul talked about, if he could perform all these miracles, but he hasn't love, then he's nothing. So if you think you're winning a game here because the majority of us haven't raised the dead, which I should add was the majority of Christians throughout all of church history, then, you can argue with nobody.
I want to see him walk on water.
Well, it would be nice. I'd like to see him, period. So let's see here. GOC recognizes Father Sir from Rose's chrismation is valid only due to the involvement of St. John Maximovich. Otherwise, they wouldn't. It's just a matter of the 1971 Rocore instruction. I see no reason to make it more complicated than that. When you do make it more complicated than that, you run into errors. I wouldn't do that. Anthony the Mac, let's see, Lena's had 3 Patricks sign off on it, so it was just local to Constantinople. I wonder how they square that. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the Oros of 1755? And let's see. Orthodox Ensign Prayer and Ceasing Chrismation is supported by Constantinople 1 and Trillo Canon 95. None of those sects still exist, so technically, while the practice is there, how it is applied is still done by the church. So please stop trying to impose your terrible readings of the canons on the bishops. Ancient Churchianity, Jeff Dutcher. So what Jesus said to do changed? No, it's not what Jesus said to do changed. It's the manifestation of God. Showed itself through the crucifixion, shows itself through the life of the church, and does not always involve the very rare case of raising the dead. HMLDR says Memento Mori, a Latin heritage. I see no reason to say that. Memento Mori is just a Latin phrase that means remember your death. Last I checked, he is Orthodox. Ortho Adjust says, Father, did you see it? Just curious. See what? No, just repeat it. I didn't see it. Things are moving faster. Ancient Churchianity says, the point is you aren't Christian, you aren't in the fullness of discipleship, and with that, you are gone. If you are not going to show up and defend your statements, bye-bye. Because, sorry, that's a stupid criterion. You are not raising the dead? Oh, well, we have some saints who raise the dead. Yeah, but you're not raising the dead. Get off. Bye. No, most Christians do not raise the dead. That is just history, okay? Because it is meant to manifest the power of God when it happens. You are mocking the power of God and testing it. Get off my chat. Let's see here. Doesn't Moscow like to say that the minority doesn't speak for the majority? They do, but unfortunately, they are, kind of incoherent. Ancient Churchianity says somewhere along the line, discipleship is the issue of the Orthodox. Clearly, that sounds like you are a cult leader. So out that goes. Really, who's your spiritual father then? Leonidas. Oh, my guess is it's probably some crazy Protestant group that's a restorationist type. That's why they don't show up, because they're kind of afraid. HMLDJR, do you think I'm Roman Catholic? My comment was in the title of the article. I wasn't stating that I apostatize. I'm in the GOC under Metropolitan Demetrius. Yeah, I understood you were true Orthodox. He's talking about an article for review, HML, so we're going to get to it, I promise. Ancient Churchianity says a fully mature disciple, you are not Orthodox, so you are definitely not a fully mature disciple, will freely receive and give. Peter confirms it's not his own power. You did not raise the dead. Goodbye. And out that goes. See, it's very liberating when you're dealing with some kind of heretic that wants to misquote the Bible and say, oh, well, this is why you're not Orthodox. You're not raising the dead. Like, okay, you have not read enough of the scriptures. You are mocking the history of the church. And no, I don't put up with that. You're just, if you're not going to come on and actually challenge us, which is the point, people, in case I have to say that again. If you want to jump on the stream or ask a question or make a comment or issue a challenge, like our boy was doing here, click the link at the top of the chat. But if you just want to say stupid things in the chat, bye-bye. Let me see here. He does not need a spiritual father. He's obviously so holy. He knows better than Holy Father. Exactly. Ronaldo, no. Orthodox and Canon 95 Trillaman's monophysized by mentioning Eutyches by name, which are still around. Unfortunately, they have changed the form of baptism. So we've talked about this even recently with Bishop Enoch. If a lot of the times they're not even fully immersing the child. So no, they've changed that. And so that is probably due to the involvement in the ecumenical movement. But in any case, okay, so we are good with the comments there. I will start looking for that article. Father Boniface, how are you doing?
Okay.
You're falling
Had a busy
asleep on
day
me.
today.
Can't have that. Oh, how? Okay, tell us about that.
Well, let me see. We had yesterday. We had a chant session with Cantor Gregory from the
Cool.
Abbey, and so we're practicing chanting, which I'm learning and getting better all the time. But there's lots of room for improvement. So we have that on my on my video YouTube corner there.
Okay.
And so we were working at that, and that was good. And just excited for having come back from Greece and enjoying the enhanced fellowship and experience and getting to meet more people and so that's been good too. So
Glory to God.
yeah.
Let's see here. Give me one moment. I am looking for Memento Mori's article. I'm moving as fast as I can. Let's go back. But I did have to take care of some housekeeping while I'm doing that. Let me see if I can find it now. Okay. All right. So, okay. I think I found it. 1 Peter 5. I left Eastern Orthodoxy for the church led by Pope Francis, and I don't regret it. Okay. Let's see here. Has that? Okay. Father Boniface has disappeared.
I'm here. I just
right.
going over to my library for a second.
Okay. Let me see here. Ortho just said, "Dang YouTube for not posting it." Yeah, I would try rewording it. Let's see. Orthodox feels says Father Boniface should do sleep streams, like some ASMR type of things. But anyway, so all right. So I left Eastern Orthodoxy for the church led by Pope Francis, and I don't regret it. So first off, Timothy Flanders left World Orthodoxy, just so we can be clear. And he left, I want to say it was around 2-3 years ago. I did try to reach out to him, and it failed to see if I could talk to him about why he left, but he wasn't that interesting today. Oh wow! So this is a lot longer. Apparently, that doesn't make sense. It says editor's note: 13 years ago, I received Holy Communion for the first time as a Roman Catholic. My journey from Protestantism to Eastern Orthodoxy to Rome is detailed in my forthcoming book published by the St. Paul Center. But I don't, unless I'm getting really old super fast, I feel like he became a Roman Catholic a lot later than 13 years ago. But I could be wrong. Let's see here. I converted from Eastern Orthodoxy to Catholicism shortly after Pope Francis was elected. I have never rejected this decision because I've seen what it's like to live without the Roman primacy, and I will never go back. The root of Raud Dreher, why he's calling out this guy, is a dead end for these reasons. The Roman primacy is instituted by God and is a safeguard for humility, while the Orthodox are hopelessly divided and afflicted with a pathology against charity. Pathology against charity. Okay. The Roman primacy is instituted by God. I believe that is actually one of the Dictatus Papae's theses. Let me just double check that. I'm almost certain that one is, in fact. Let's find out. Yeah. Share this tab. Yeah, it's the first one, that the Roman Church is founded by the Lord alone. Okay, so he definitely went full Hildebrand here. So let's see here. So okay, I'm not going to argue with his terrible readings of the fathers, which all come from little snippets of probably an Eric Ibarra book. Or, well, no, to be fair, this apparently 13 years, he predates Eric Ibarra's books. Yeah. Clear from the Father of St. Peter as the Prince of the Apostles. That term was not that commonly used in the first centuries. Even the earliest term was Corpheus, which is head of the choir, not prince. Every apostle was instituted as bishop, therefore Christ instituted a prince among bishops. Technically, all the bishops were often referred to as princes of the church. Yeah, this is not good. Plus, they were all seen as successors of St. Peter, according to Western pontificals. Yeah. Homoousios was an actual important term that separated orthodoxy from the heretics. Venerating icons was something that separated orthodoxy from the heretics. It was not a result of St. John's impeccable proofs. The proofs were to demonstrate as to why it could be done. But the idea, and this is a problem you find in a lot of Protestant apologetics and a lot of Roman Catholic apologetics, is they assume a null hypothesis at the beginning. What that means is they will take iconoclasm and iconodulia and say they're equally valid until determined otherwise. And so then they'll say, okay, well, iconodulia has these arguments, iconoclasm has these arguments. What they will not address, and what the fathers always do address, is the actual lived practice of the church, which would instantly disqualify iconoclasm because the icons were there. That's why it was called iconoclasm, because they were being destroyed. So iconodualism is not a result of St. John of Damascus's impeccable proofs. Neither is the Roman primacy following from the divine deposit of revelation. And this was not understood by the saints aforementioned. These are all a bunch of unprovable or unproven or false claims. So let it be clear to every Catholic, the Roman primacy is instituted by God. No, that's not clear. The Roman primacy, insofar as St. Peter, you could argue that St. Peter's apostolate was instituted by God, not the Roman primacy. The truth is that the Roman primacy suffers not from a lack of documentary evidence or reasoning, but a lack of humility. That's really what it comes down to. This is their general argument. If you are not obedient to the Pope, it is because you are invincibly ignorant, you are stiff-necked, and you're too proud to submit to the Pope. In the same way one, I guess, submits to Allah, who has the same God as the Roman Catholics, as we know. The Roman primacy is the safeguard for humility. St. Thomas, shows that humility means conformity with the truth. I will agree with that. I just don't believe the Roman Catholics have the truth. The Roman Church alone claims divine authority to speak infallibly and demand the humble obedience of every soul. Let's see. That is in the Dictatus Papae when it's talking about the powers of the Pope. And it mentions that the name of him alone is to be recited in the churches. That's number 10. That this is the only name in the world. That's number 11. That he can depose emperors. Number 12. That he can just transfer bishops freely. That's against the canons. And number 13. That he can ordain any cleric from any church whatsoever. That he holds authority over the councils. That he holds authority over the books. That he holds authority that can be retracted by no one, that he can be judged by no one. The point is any of this stuff in the Fathers? No. Is it in the Dictatus Papae, that which establishes the Roman Church? Absolutely. So let us get back to this awful, awful essay, but very enlightening in its own way.
I think that the papacy originated sola scriptura because they got the scriptures going only the way they want them to go.
Yep. Let me see here. All right, so we'll take a second and we are going to look to see what comments we have. Let's see here. Orthodox and Dwayne Aldo. So why would an ecumenist group, as you say, canonize an anti-ecumenist saint? LOL, make it make sense. It's very simple, Orthodox and because we already canonized him. True Orthodox have already glorified Saint Seraphim as of last year, and more people are accepting it. This is kind of what happened with Saint Philaret. What's also happening is that ROCOR MP is starting to see its own, because they're in the MP, they're starting to see their own credibility rot away. So this is why they had the whole brouhaha where first it was like, oh, we've glorified him as saint. And then they were like, oh, no, we haven't. And then they were like, oh, don't talk to the Union of Orthodox Journalists because they're media, they're liars. And so, this whole thing was just ridiculous. It was just a way for them to try to maintain control. They didn't want the egg on their face that was forming and has formed to continue to form on their face. That is why Orthodox. Ortho Joe says, on Twitter, I sent you a DM with a Facebook article. Oh, another one. Leonida says, Craig specifically implied that the original consecrations done by Galactian Cordoon and the 3 original GOC bishops were invalid since that violated the 19th canon of Antioch. Well, let's find out. Obviously, we are going to first let's get to this, and then we will get back to 19th canon of Antioch. We will use that as our guardrail. Let's see how much longer we have on this. Looks like almost halfway. When I was Orthodox, I had one faithful Orthodox priest tell me one thing and another faithful Orthodox priest tell me another. I was left to my own private judgment. Skipping. That is anecdotal. Once I know that the Roman primacy is instituted by God, I also see how it's necessary for doctrine and humility. It saves me from my own pride by claiming my obedience and demanding my humility. Once again, this is called not wanting to deal with the difficulty of seeing what the fathers say. It's wanting to have a nice, easy answer from an oracle. So we will go there. There is no Orthodox church. Okay, and then he mentions Chalcedonian churches, non-Chalcedonian churches, one Assyrian church, in addition to millions of old believers, old calendarists, and such groups. The one thing that has to be remembered here is that when people make this argument, which Orthodox church, 99% of the time, they don't care about the answer. They do not care whether the truth can be determined. All they care about is saying that there's lots of people who call themselves Orthodox, which would include unions, by the way, and we need an easier way to deal with it. But is this easier way of the fathers? The answer is no. And then it goes on Chalcedonians. This is kind of silly stuff. I feel like I'm not dealing with this. The pathology against charity, that is kind of insane, and I feel like I'm not going to deal with that one. I'm definitely not affirming the doctrine of the Immaculate Conception. Of course, it's Callistos Ware, who is the ecumenist par excellence, author of Lustratius Argenti, that one of the founding members of the Fellowship of Saints Alban and Sergius, and a major ecumenist, most recently defending LGBTQ theology, basically implying that the Orthodox believed in the Immaculate Conception. Unfortunately, his fellow traveler, Lev Gillette, or a monk of the Eastern Church, could only find 3 actual attempted proofs that didn't say what they were supposed to say, defending the Immaculate Conception. Yep, the crisis in Catholicism is severe, perhaps the worst we've ever faced, but with every other crisis in history, God is with us, we're told it to us, and will bring in the liberty and exaltation of Holy Mother Church. Sure. And if you want to believe that the papacy is going to come back, you are free to do that, buddy. And the rest of this is footnotes, which I'm not going to get into. So I hope that helps. I personally did not see that as valuable as I could. So let's see here. All right. So what we're going to do is let's look at the 19th canon of Antioch. Hold on. The Runner, Council of Antioch. And we will look at the commentary. I have a feeling this is probably not going to say what he thinks it's going to say, because they almost never do. Canons of the Holy Fathers. And let me see here. Nope, not that one. Council of Antioch. Okay, I'm just gonna go to. Let's see if I can find a copy of the rudder. Do I have one on my most recent computer? Let's find out.
I'd like to make a comment.
Please do.
Second Epistle of John. I rejoice greatly that that I found of thy children walking in truth, as we have received the commandment from the Father. That John rejoiced greatly that the lady who he was writing to was walking in the truth. Um, I say
Mhm.
the elder unto the elect lady and her children, whom I love in the truth, and not only I, but also all they that have known the truth, for the truth's sake, which dwelleth in us and shall be with us forever. Grace be with you, mercy and peace from God the Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of the Father, in truth and love. So John's emphasizing in his second epistle there to the love of the truth, and that people, according to the commandment of God, we are to walk in truth. So apparently, with all these ecumenical people and people who are shifting around all over the place, where's the truth in all that?
Yeah.
Because the scriptures
No,
say, walk in truth.
very
Jesus
true.
says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Thy word is truth. Sanctify them by the word. Thy word is truth. There's got to be a truth somewhere.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so I've got the rudder up. Ironically, one of the easiest places to get the rudder is from the guy who put up Lev Gillette stuff. Okay, it says no bishop shall be ordained without a synod and the presence of the metropolitan of the province. He must be present in any case, and it would be better that all the fellow ministers in the province should attend the synod too. Accordingly, the bishop of the metropolis should. All of this is based on should. The same reason that they say that you don't have to follow Canon 15 of the First Second Synod because it says should. We've got the should, but we already know from the apostolic canons, because it's literally the first canon. We already know that the first of the apostolic canons does not say should, but says 2 or 3 bishops are needed to ordain a bishop. And I've also read 2 or 3 bishops must ordain a bishop. So the bishops, until there is regularization, operate in a quasi-canonical sort of position. But then once there is a metropolitan elected, or an archbishop in the case of the Church of Greece, everything regularizes itself. And that has happened many times in the church's history. So no, he's wrong. He's just wrong on that because they did eventually regularize it to that point. So good try, Craig, but you failed. In any case, let's see here. I hope that helps. But since the majority of the synod, when the synod is heretical, I think that answers itself, Leonidas. Father Methodius says, hello, everyone. I just got back from bowling with my parish. They have such exciting times at his parish. That's so cool. Matushka had the high score. You didn't have to admit that, Father. I mean, we appreciate your honesty, but you lost to a girl, bro. Anyway, no, just kidding, Father. Just kidding, Father. Let's see here. Father bless. Okay, God bless. But exactly, Father Boniface. What blows my mind with the Yanakari says, what blows my mind with these RC apologists is that the RCC recognizes the EO as having truly valid sacraments, so them leaving EO or sneering our way is so ridiculous. Absolutely. People asking Father Methodius for a blessing. And I, by the way, was just kidding. Congratulations to Matushka on wiping. Okay, I'm not going to wiping the floor with that. Why do I keep inserting things? Stop it. Okay. Let's see. Matushka Irene says, modern day martyrdom for our modern day saints. Absolutely. Leonida said, would the Roman Synod at the time of the Great Schism have only consisted of bishops from the Papal States? The Lombard Church was autocephalous, same with the German Church. The Roman Synod at the time of the Great Schism was already really confused. If you watch our Who Invented the Roman Catholic Church series, there were already factions that had formed in the 1060s and the 1050s and would extend all the way to the Synod of Brixen in 1080, which deposed Hildebrand, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's worth, when they talk about things like orthodoxy needs a scoreboard to follow, the Great Schism of the West in 1080 definitely needs a scoreboard. Let's see here. Our George says, parish bowling sounds nice. We will have to figure out some similar ideas for our mission here in Indiana. Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. See, let's have some fun here. Leonida said from 338. I assume you're talking about the Synod of Antioch? Okay. Maybe something similar between a couple of missions in Indiana. Ooh, are we talking about like a competition between parishes? That would be crazy. The Orthodox Field says, Father Boniface is cooking. And
no, I'm not cooking. I'm relaxing.
Let's see. Orthodox traditionalist says Craig Trulia. Yeah, I mean, I know. Gravehead says, and I want to get to that thing about the Monophysites with Craig Trulia because I want to see what that says. But there's only one way that happens, folks. More donations. We will get to that. As a matter of fact, I have to say that now before I continue with the comments. Help keep the lights on. Support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XMR, or on GiveSendGo. Just look in the description. Currently, we are at $26. Our goal is $250. So there it is there. Thank you for those who donated already. We could really use, again, the donations. We're at the first third of the month. So this is where a lot of stuff, we get a lot of bills. Things go crazy. We really could use your help. So whatever you can do, I am here and I am checking in case that is possible. Let's continue on. And let's see here. We are going to, from 338. GOC recognizes Father Seraphin's misdemeanor as only due to the involvement of St. John Maximovich. Otherwise, they wouldn't. I'm not sure who you're talking about in the GOC, and I'm not going to touch that because, first off, if you're talking about the GOC synod that glorified him, I'm not a member of that, so I don't want to say the reasoning. But what I've pointed out, as I pointed out before, is if you start saying that chrismation is impossible to use, it leads to a lot of really problematic things like St. Elizabeth, the New Martyr, not being a true saint of the church and not obviously being a real nun until she was baptized in her blood, as is claimed by people like Gregory of Colorado. So I'm going to continue hammering on that because, no, you are not going to establish that this is the reality, especially not for a synod you might not be a part of. Anthony Lemech, X3M, had 3 patriarchs sign off on it, so it's just local to Constantinople. Wonder how they square that. Okay, I read these already. Let me see here. Hold on. Christ specifically implies the original consecration. Okay, we read that. Father Methodius blessed, Monterey Martyrdom. Okay, I'm moving as fast as I can. Father Boniface Craig Trulia. How does the church avoid millstone recipients like Gleb from here forward? Well, that's through basic things like vetting them. Unfortunately, not everything's going to be perfect. Not everything's going to work out perfect when it comes to things like that. I don't know that we can say that we'd be perfect at it. I hate to say it, but I think that a lot of World Orthodox monastics are effeminates. And I think that was easily proven with that recent one, Kirill of Volokamensk, or Hilarion of Volokamensk. So unfortunately, that is a difficulty that the church has dealt with for a long time. The best thing we can do is better vetting. R. George says, Michael GOC still waiting for you to come visit us and vice versa. Orthodox traditionalists with a question mark. Apparently Craig tried to say that our orders were invalid because of the 19th rule of Antioch, but this is speaking in terms of normative situations. If there is no metropolitan or he's fallen into apostasy, they have to elect a new one, which means you have to elect a new synod, etc. R. George says, Father Methodius, did your sermons get taken down? I can't find them. Am I missing something? Little Wing says, Father Boniface always cooking in spirit and truth, and sometimes he's actually cooking. God bless. Dylan Kasharovsky says, Father bless, I'm an inquirer into orthodoxy and curious why the church preserves and displays relics of saints and priests. What makes some holy considered holy or miraculous? Usually the action of miracles makes them considered holy or miraculous. Relics are always kept. The church does not believe in cremation, etc. And so the relics of holy people eventually do get revealed, usually through miraculous means. And then they will, when they exhume bodies, occasionally when their great sanctity has been demonstrated, those relics are washed and they're taken care of. So I hope that that helps. So these are not like arbitrary things. They're real people, and they're real things that happen when real holiness happens. So let's take a look here. So I hope that helps, Dylan. Great Pam says, I met a true Orthodox priest in the Denver airport. Well, I Denver. Okay. I hope he was true Orthodox. Leonidas says, like the Roman Synod just before the Great Schism, say they would have consisted only of the Roman pontiffs, the 7 cardinal bishops, and other bishops within the papal states. that was actually a rule that changed with Hildebrand because he was the one who quote unquote restored popular election, but there's a controversy about that. Really worth reading more about the history of the investiture controversy, Leonidas. Definitely. Or George, yes, I had to take down everything down. No more online Father Methodius. What? Wait, what? No, no, that can't happen. Those sermons are handy. I don't know. Is there a place to lodge a protest? We need to bring those back. Let me see here.
They
And
took him down?
I don't know. I guess he's not supposed to be online anymore. I have no idea. Um, let's see here. Tell us. I mean, well, maybe he can't tell us. Let's see here, and that's whatever the case may be, Father. You're in our prayers, and hopefully, we would like to see some of those back. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's see here. Da, 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 da. I'm moving as fast as I can. Leonidas with a member chat. Thank you so well with a super chat. Thank you so much for the $10. Let us add that. We definitely appreciate that. That puts us at 36 and brings us down to 214. Once again, if we can get to 187 in the total, then we will go till 11. If we can get there by 10:30. Otherwise, we'll end at 10:30. And if we can complete the total, we will go to we'll go till 11:30. So let me put that in there. So hold on. Okay, so let me do that. Let me add that and put that down there. And Leonidas, I'm going to put 10. All right, so we're going to save that. And the $2 HML. Okay, I knew I forgot that. Okay, so HML, and that was $2. So save that. So we're now at 214, but there is more coming. So glory to God for that. Let's continue on. A few of the changes he mentions are actually persevered when comparing the Septuagint versus the Hebrew text, but fathers, how do we interpret St. Justin Martyr's dialogue with Trypho, where he talks about where the Jews were trying to alter the scriptures? A few of the changes he mentions are actually persevered when comparing the Septuagint versus the Hebrew text, but other verses are absent from both. St. Irenaeus also quotes some of the verses, I think, in Against Heresy, so I'm just curious how the church approaches that. If these are no longer existent in the Hebrew text, or they never existed in the Greek text, and St. Justin is pointing them out, most likely they changed them because of St. Justin. That would be my guess. So I would say that they have, unless there's their whole versions. I'd have to see some examples. And again, um, there was a lot of messing around with the scriptures because of the influence that Christians had with the Septuagint.
Well, he had the Masoretic text with Isaiah 7:14 said that she was a young maiden shall conceive
Yeah,
instead of a virgin.
exactly, and that's a change from the Septuagint. And then, like Saint Jerome notes that a young girl conceiving is an everyday occurrence. So how is that a prophecy? But in any case, yeah. So let me see here. Grape Ape says, "I wish I would have gotten a picture. He seemed in a rush." Grape Ape, what was his name? He was based in Florida. Okay, don't know who that. Maybe it was just a priest transferring in Denver Airport. R. George says, "I see, Father. Well, this may be a blessing. I'm trying to get more offline myself and recently switched to a flip phone." Oh wow. Well, I mean, I hope to see more of Father Methodius. Let's see. Ortho just says that is a stop from Etna. It just says, yeah, curious LOL, but wrong priest. Ortho just says, sad face. Grape Ape, blessings. Thank you for answering a hard question for $5. Thank you so much for helping us keep the lights on. That puts us at 41. And so we are immensely grateful. And the goal is now down to 209. So we are hoping we can get to 187 total. So just 146 more to go. Within the next half hour or so. Maybe we can. Who knows? Let's try. And let me see here. I thought I heard something. Okay, there's something from. Okay, I did get a message, but that doesn't help us. Okay, so let's continue. Trillia is in hard delusion and denial. See your text. I will see my text. Gregory says it like orthodoxy. Yeah, the Boston accent. Orthodox traditions. Why doesn't Craig just ask his bishop what he thinks about the GOC? Craig is going through a lot when it comes to the GOC. I think he knows that we are more correct than he wants to admit, but he is still mad, and so he doesn't want to give us any quarter. But that again is not my problem. Let's see. Bishop Luke would tell him. Bishop Luke might have already told him. Little Wing with a member chat says why. I'm not sure what the why is about, but you can always ask again. Leonidas says he does apologetics against the true Orthodox, or George. I have no idea what we're talking about. Yeah. Oh, that's why. But the reason why is because he's mad at us. He doesn't like it. Holding out hope Bishop Luke will come to us. It is, it's possible. Like, I don't discount the possibility he pulls what St. Justin Popovich did, which is basically write like a letter, like, I want none of this in at my funeral. That could happen, sort of thing. Orthodox traditionalist says that's why he's not interested in truth. That's why he ignores the WCC issues within his own patriarchate and the issues they have going on with the Monophysites. Absolutely right. Can't argue with that. Jeff Dutcher, 3636, said, I heard of some World Orthodox bishops in an article trying to shut down online stuff. They have been trying that for a while now, and it's getting harder and harder for them to do. They're losing control over a lot of their flocks between the cult that Dyer produced, along with the fact that true Orthodox, for the most part, speak pretty freely about all this stuff. Let me see here. Ortho just says, I didn't mention a new priest this stream. Are you talking about last stream? Yes, I think we're wondering about that new priest. Ortho adjust. Grave Ape says he was definitely old calendar. He knew the priest here in Oregon. Orthodox Field said, okay, the new priest. He says, Father John, we have 3 priests in Berta now. Berta, where in Berta are you talking about? Let's see here. So this is an interesting thing. Let's see, because I'm not sure what you are talking about. Are you talking about Alberta or someplace else? CDM PD, glory to God. Ortho just says Alberta, LOL. Yeah, our bishop Lazar in Canada actually just took a visit to Alberta and Edmonton, and so he was visiting some of our parishes there. So it's good to see that the Alberta area is getting busier and busier with more true Orthodox stuff. So very interesting, very interesting. The Orthodox Field has a little dinosaur face thingy. Okay, so let us see here what else we've got going on. I am trying to see if I can find this video, which we will get to, and we will look at this. And hold on one second. Just quickly go to YouTube, and it should pop up because it has been popping up quite a bit. Let's see here. Patristic clips, I think. They keep doing more stuff like this, so let us see. So this is, this is one that I thought was, well, let me see here, because... Yeah, this is Craig has been doing, I guess he did a stream with Cleave to Antiquity where he argues that the Oriental Orthodox and the Catholics are schismatic as opposed to heretical. And I think that's a very interesting thing. Let's see here. So I'm going to put that up because we're going to go over the Oriental Orthodox because I noticed 3 days ago we got the Catholic Church, parallel jurisdictions, opposing altars. I don't know what that is saying. And schismatics. And then same thing with Oriental Orthodox. They are apparently schismatic also. I notice he doesn't want to use the word heretical, which I think is odd, but we're definitely going to look at that a bit more. And so we will see what that is. I'm getting messages. I got to get to my messages. They're all over the place. Yes, Bishop Enoch was noting one of our churches in Alberta, and yes, it's one of our larger closets and one of our larger trailers. Yes, we do have some pretty churches in Canada. And if you go to Exaltation Monastery You can see our cathedral in Edmonton that Bishop Lazar was recently at as well.
Elevation.
Elevation
Elevation.
Monastery. Elevation.
Elevation.
Yeah, Elevation Monastery. Um, Let me see here. Craig claimed the only places where true Orthodox clergy would be canonical would be the North America, Australia, etc., since they are heathen lands, whereas Greece, Romania, etc., already had established synods. That is logical because technically Canon 28 of the Council of Constantinople says that the barbarian lands would be occupiable by Constantinople. Some have argued about Roman jurisdiction and then later Slavic jurisdiction. But unfortunately, this is not a good argument. I would argue that there really is no place where the true Orthodox aren't canonical because all of the claimed locations are based solely on secular authority, which means they can change at the drop of a hat. So that's not a good logic at all. Let me see here. Why is the true Orthodox so against the existence of extraterrestrial life? Wouldn't it prove your religion is false when an alien body is presented by President Trump? No. First off, I doubt that they'd find an alien body that isn't constructed because I think most people think that those are demons, like Reader John points out. They're probably demons, and if they are existent and they are real, my guess is that there would be some sort of human variant because God created humanity in the image and likeness of God. So they might be a weird human, but they would still be human. Jeff Dutcher says, some get pensions, my understanding, not Matthewites. After the 1982 Mars Hill settlement, many of the true Orthodox applied for and got pensions. What ended up happening was that in the, I want to say the 1990s, I'll defer to a Greek on this, but the latest version of the Greek constitution, which came out something like 25, 30 years ago, specifically put in its constitution that the Greek Orthodox Church is the one that is in communion with Constantinople. This did not exist in previous editions of the Greek constitution. So what that means is that they had managed to weasel in a way to say that the New Calendarist Church of Greece was the official church by virtue of communion with Constantinople. Is this based on the canons? No. Is this based on anything that has to do with tradition? No. It is based only on the current Greek constitution. But a lot of people, as I've mentioned before, disagreed with that definition. They said they're the original Greek church, and Constantinople and the New Calendar Greeks used that as a way of suing people for their properties. So that is where that distinction comes in, Jeff. So it's not because of the fact that the state suddenly recognizes the great virtue of the New Calendarists. That's not why at all. Super Dark Man says, thank you for your answer. I appreciate it. No problem. Feel free to come on. St. Sarah from Rose's book, Religion of the Future, covers the whole UFO subject. It does, and it does basically argue that they're demons. So none of this is new to us. So we will get to this video now. We will watch this. And once again, I will point out, help us keep the lights on. Support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XMR, or on Give, Send, Go. Just look in the description. And again, the goal now is 209. If we can get to 187 or above, we will stay till 11. Otherwise, we will be ending at 10:30. And again, if you want to come on the show to ask a question or make a comment, just click the link. And pass that. Let us see here. Give me one moment. All right. So let's get this thing started and see why they don't say heresy.
There became a disputed election between the non-Chalcedonian bishop of Antioch, recognized one bishop, and he was present during the consecration of a bishop in Alexandria, and then one bishop with two bishops of Jacob Bar-Dai. So there's only one valid bishop. You need three in the canons. Consecrated a new bishop, a patriarch.
I thought you needed the metropolitan, Craig.
Alexandria, and then they went and consecrated another 69 bishops and made 70. So literally made a synod out of thin air.
Right.
And that's where the modern or the Coptic Orthodox Church comes from.
Well, let's jump in. Let's do.
Now, I do see Leonidas said the Matthewites rejected the Rochor Hedothesia in the 1980s. They did, but they had to refer to it in the court case where the new Calendarist bishop tried to sue for Archbishop Stephanus's cathedral. So, for all intents and purposes, it did become useful and kind of led to opening the door to make peace between all parties.
Well, let's go church by church and explain how they would fall under this category of setting up like a parallel altar, parallel jurisdictions, these types of things. I think the pressing one on everybody's mind right now would be the Oriental, quote unquote, Orthodox. So why don't we discuss them first?
Yes, I think this is one of those that are actually.
Well, one of the things we should point out is he said Oriental, quote unquote, Orthodox, but according to their own joint statements, they are equal Orthodox and they are sister churches. So
much simpler. It's than a lot of the cases. Simply because they violate canons that they hold to, and it's not like this is our interpretation versus theirs. I could quote John of Ephesus, their first major historian, who's actually one of the early patriarchs, taking exactly this interpretation. So I'm not pulling this out of thin air of the canons. And so let me just cite Canon 19 of the Council of Antioch, which states, only a council held in the presence of the metropolitan bishop may ordain a bishop. Furthermore, it is best to do this when all the brothers in the ministry of the province gather together with the metropolitan bishop. He should therefore send them all letters of invitation. It is best if all can meet.
It is best. You get my point here is that when you're operating under an emergency situation, then basically that is a justification for doing what you're doing. And I feel like the reason that Craig is trying to argue uncanonicity is because he just doesn't want to flat out say heresy, which he should.
However, if this is impossible, this is important. We can already see, like, well, what if all these mitigating factors, right? Persecutions could make it impossible, and whether who knows what. This is impossible. It is imperative that a majority either be present or take part in the election by letter. In this way, the decision will be made by the consent of the majority. If anything takes place contrary to...
Leonidas asks, when was that, Father? Are you sure you aren't thinking about an earlier case, Father? No, I think this was around 2000. I want to say it was around 2010, 2011. But I'll do the research. I'll have it by next show. Orthodox traditionalist says the MP Patriarchal Synod said they're Orthodox. Sounds like they're dissenting from their Patriarchate's official position. That is correct.
These decrees, such action is hereby nullified. And so this is cut and dry. And for the Oriental Orthodox, all their holy orders originate ultimately from Jacob Borodai. And so anyone who starts arguing about Severus or Dioscorus, these are all interesting things to talk about. But they're actually irrelevant to the ecclesiastical question ultimately.
Okay, so he's really trying to, based on Craig's argument, Saint Sylvester of Antioch setting up a parallel jurisdiction in Antioch in 1724 was uncanonical. Like, you cannot follow this to the letter and expect to justify the Orthodox. You will find cases where the Orthodox did not have sufficient quote-unquote jurisdiction and had to operate freely. The Johnites did it. About half the cases in this book, and yet they're accepted by the church. So this idea of mere canonicity being the sole criterion and not heresy is it's depressing, to say the least.
Because the holy orders don't derive from Severus. They don't derive even from Theodosius of Alexandria, because ultimately that patriarch, the churches he tried setting up, were not the ones that became the Oriental Orthodox Church of today. The synod in Egypt and the synod in their Syria, their Antiochian synod, were both created by bishops, all consecrated by Jacob Borodai. And Jacob Borodai was consecrated a bishop, and not by the Patriarch of Antioch, not with their permission of the Antiochian synod, but he would have something of a canonical gray area because he wasn't a bishop within Roman territory. And why is this relevant? Because it's like Roman Empire doesn't decide everything. Part of it is because the canons themselves demand that among Roman provincial lines, that's where dioceses would be set up. So the church kind of voluntarily agreed to this sort of geopolitical arrangement, lack of some better way to decide jurisdictional boundaries. But I would say more important than this is St. Justinian and St. Theodore were aware, well, we don't want these people to totally become disconnected from us, but we don't want to create schism within the church. So we'll send them amongst the other schismatics, which will eventually get into the Syrians. And so this way, they're not actually invading anyone's jurisdiction. And they wouldn't require someone who is not doesn't have valid bishops of their own, like the Assyrians. They're essentially like missionary bishops. And
Catholicism is cool. Says, hello, everyone. Am I allowed to be here or no? Well, we don't really stop anyone until they just start spamming the chat. But if you have a legitimate question, you can always come on, or you can always ask your question. But once again, if you start spamming, that becomes a problem. If you want to jump on the stream to ask a question or make a comment, just click the link. You're always welcome to do that, even though I know that for some reason people who like to spam the chat are afraid to actually talk. Let me see here. Orthodox traditionalist says, don't forget the MP, recognizing the charism of the Monophysites being grace-filled, which caused Jordanville to publish a public statement. Very true. Catholicism School says, I didn't spam, just asking. I understand, but we do have spammers who do that. That's why I said that. Matthew Metanoia says, this is a no Pope zone. No, anyone can call in. It's just that most people don't. They just spam the chat. So it's a no spam zone. Let's see. Don't accuse me of spam. We're not accusing you. Last warning, because it sounds like you want to spam about spamming, and we're not doing that. You can always feel free to pop in. Let me see here. There are 4 ROCOR MP churches in Alberta. At least let us know which city the new GOC priest came from. I mean, the point is, I'm sure people in Alberta know. Matthew Metanoia says, Pope's not even once. All right, let's go back to this this thing here.
And I believe it's the 17th canon of Chalcedon, but the point is, it's called in barbarian lands, no one has jurisdiction. So that in that way, the Patriarch of Alexandria, that's a monophysite we're not Chalcedonian, that's in exile in Constantinople, has no rights over anything in Syria. But theoretically, he could consecrate bishops still. Theoretically, he could send bishops to barbarian lands to evangelize. And this was the program that St. Justin and St. Theodora underwent. And this kind of ignored.
Oh, boy. Hack Bounties is back. Once again, saying dumb things, but never jumping on the stream. We know you're a papist. You love saying things, but you don't say anything that's serious. We know. Whoa. Okay. JH. Thank you so much. Wow. 1 second. JH with a donation via PayPal. And that was a big one. And it puts us at 152. Let me see here. Meaning the goal is now $98 for the total goal. And to get us to go for a second, for the half hour to continue on till 11, would just be, hold on, 87 plus 50, 77. $22. $22 will get us going to 11, and $98 will get us to go for the till 11:30. Wow. So that's exciting. R. George says Catholics are closer to Mormons than we are Protestants in terms of ecclesiology. That's very true. Catholicism is cool. Says, are you old calendarists? How come you don't like our calendar? Give me one good reason you can't. Sorry. Yeah, I can. Because your unions use our calendar. So a lot of them do. Welcome, Reader John.
Christ is risen.
Truly is risen. This is exciting. Okay, so we've got Craig saying inanities, people in the chat going crazy, and we are at $152 total. So we are less than $20. Well, we're at $25 away.
35.
$35 away. Thank you for once again. Reader John is our math guy.
Only with money.
It's just too easy to make the comment.
It's in my genes. I can't help it.
It's in your genes. All right. So, I'm happy. I'm getting excited. $35. Okay, that was wrong. Anyway.
Did you just rub your hands together, Father?
It helps I have a beard. It just makes it much easier.
Oh, boy.
Banned by Facebook tomorrow for that one. Okay, so anyway.
I don't know why that video got taken down. I have no idea.
Oh, boy. Anyway. Yep, welcome, Reader John. Great people says, Reader John. Leonida says, all right, George, even a lot of Florence will acknowledge their bishops didn't have grace until the ROCOR recognized their consecrations in 69. I think that the Florentites would probably argue that they had grace, but that they were canonically not
Irregular.
Yeah, they were irregular, is what they would say. Let me see. Orthodox traditionalist says, Leonidas, no, none of us would ever say something like that. I would say that I don't think anyone ever operated with the belief that they weren't the church. That just didn't happen. DVD 44A, the UGCC was on the Orthodox Paschalian and some are on the full Julian calendar. That is correct, particularly the orders. I forget, the Ukrainian Basilians, at least 25 years ago, were on the full Orthodox calendar. So yeah, that's true. Let me see here. R. George says, Leonidas, what is your background? I believe Leonidas is with the Matthewites, and there's nothing wrong with that. We love the Matthewites here. So keep that in mind. You're on the true Orthodox kind of thing. So we have more love for other true Orthodox. So, you're coming in here and being like, bing, bing, the Matthewites bad. If you're a new calendar, trust me, we don't care.
Are you a true Orthodox ecumenist?
I'm a true Orthodox. I don't know I'm not going to say ecumenist because that will be clipped. That will be clipped. If I repeated that, people would be like, "Look, he said it himself," and they just put it over. Like, ecumenist. All right, it's not the Julian calendar; it's the Orthodox calendar used for 2,000 years. Da-da-da. That's right.
Correct.
Pop apologetics in the chat. Sean Sidonia says, I've been attending a true Orthodox parish for 3 years now and have witnessed 2 Rocor MP priests join the GOC, and my godfather is a former deacon from the MP. Let's go, Sean. Hack Bounty says, it's Julius Caesar's calendar, a pagan calendar. Yeah, well, we've been using it for 2,000 years, and your astrologers were also pagan. So,
well, yeah, Christ decided to come on Julius Caesar's calendar, not the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah, exactly. So there went your argument, buddy. Leonidas says, so when the Rocor Synod in 1960 decided that the ordination of Akakius Papas was invalid, was that not valid? I would say that they didn't believe that it was invalid. I would say that they just proceeded anyway. And then, in other words, it goes back to, did they believe that their orders were invalid? I would say that they did not believe that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have continued. R. George says, Father Joseph, I'm with the GOC, just wondering what he's about. I've heard some strange sounding statements. Well, he can clarify for you who he's with. I'm fairly confident that he's with the Matthewites, and that's fine. But he's going to have some disagreements. Hack Bounty says, nah, okay, that's not an argument. Catholicism School says, sorry, sadly, Orthodox aren't saved. Sorry. See, now you're just saying stupid things. You want to defend your statement? Come on board. If not, you're going to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't read them, Father, unless they're going to get past the coward stage.
That's true. That's true. If you have a cowardly statement, I will just skip it.
I'm just walking around.
Okay. Spiridon says, I'm an old calendarist that uses the new calendar daily for work. Same here. I think that all of us are at this point, even in Russia. Hack Mounties, don't care about that. Ben Matthew says, Ben, I don't know what that's referring to.
Matt.
Matt. Hack Mounties is saying ridiculous things. He's talking about the Jewish calendar versus the pagan calendar. Yeah, okay, buddy. Orthodox just all need to join a Byzantine Catholic Church. Yeah, no, we really don't need to do that.
Why?
Yeah, why would we want to
make your argument? Come on up here.
Come on up. Prove it. Demonstrate it to us. Show us why we're wrong. Let me see here. I'm between synods right now, but I was brought up a Matthewite. Yes, okay. Anthony Lemech says, Matthew Metanoia, Ben made his bed. Hack Bounty says, you're not addressing my argument. No, I'm not. I think your argument's a joke, and I think that's why you're not going to come up here. George, in between synods, Anthony Lemech says, hopefully he gets tired of all the bed bugs. Death to Compromise says, door unlocked. Yeah, we know Jews in the first century had their own calendar. Yep, we know that. You lose. No, you don't. Because Judea was destroyed.
Actually, they had multiple calendars, if you want to be accurate.
Yep. If you'd like to, Hack Bounties, you can always come right on and debate this. Maximus said, Hack, what argument did you even give? I won the debate. Yeah, okay.
What debate?
There was no debate. Okay, hold on. Let me see here. I'm going to try to get to somebody. Nectarius. He sent me a message. I got to get to it. Okay, come on. I'm gonna
only if he donates $35.
No, I'm gonna ignore these guys for the next 10 minutes and let's get to somebody who's actually important. No offense, papists, but that's kind of how I see it. All right. X says trying to weasel his way out of the last article with a case-by-case statement. Who is weaseling? Craig is weaseling. Craig has decided to weasel.
Craig is a weasel.
Yes, there is. Okay, we got the new catacomb saying, for those in Oroco MP that consider us to be schismatics, once again, go repent to your bishop. You aren't in one accord with them. And it's not just Bishop Luke. And this is a handbook from 1998 from Bishop Gabriel, talking about the Greek Old Counterist Church, the Bulgarians, the Romanians must be confessed and communed in our parishes. So this was in 1998. They were confessing and communing only with the true Orthodox.
Only 9 years before the
union. That's right. And then Craig says, I think the case-by-case basis shows we never had a completely broken communion. Yeah, actually, it does show you had a broken communion. Contra, some newer GOCK types like subdeacon and Taurus try to claim, I believe it still exists today. In fact, denial is a river in Egypt. Totally, New Catacomb says, totally agree. And for those of us who love the old Roquhorn, desire true Orthodox unity rather than calling people schismatic or graceless, that provides hope and inspiration rather than confusion. I love the New Catacombs account, by the way. If you aren't following him, you should be. I wasn't aware he was holding that position now. At the end of his Roquhorn book, he mentions that point. And Craig says, I can be incorrect, so I don't want to be slandering him, but I know he has tried to memory hold the fact that Roquhorn blessed priests who could celebrate with World Orthodox Roquhorn, the GOC's relationship with the JP until about 2000, etc. We're not yet removed from 2020 hindsight. No, we are not. But that was not good of an argument, not a very good argument. There are many in the GOC who believe the Jerusalem Patriarchate was true Orthodox until 2007 or so. Well, this goes back to the whole Patriarch Irenaeus thing. My parish was originally going to join the JP after the 2007 union, but ended up in HSIR. We remember Bishop Patriarch Irenaeus actually was in communion with the Roquhor Agafungo. So there's that argument. All right, let's see what we've got going on here. Okay, Hack Mounty said nothing useful. Leonidas said I do typically at home. I think there's a number of churches around you, Leonidas, but I understand. A number of people, there are churches around. Don't forget that there are True Orthodox maps in the description if you're trying to find a True Orthodox church near you. Romagata says, Christ is risen. Did you see Nun Agapia speak out against the genocide of the Palestinians? I have it on my X account. I have retweeted it. Spiridon 1334 says, do you think we'll ever see another calendar now that we've seen the other side of the moon? No. Sean, if we're using the Julian calendar or a variant of the Julian calendar for NASA calculations, I have a feeling the church's calendar shall remain for a much longer time than we want to admit. Can we acknowledge the freeze frame of Cleve and Craig, LOL? Yeah, well, I mean, we can. Or George saying the Orthodox aren't saved is pretty crazy. I'd rather be with St. John Maximovich than what JP2, what ain't JP2 was. Very true. Debt to Compromise says, see, give Sengu. Uh-oh, the DTC army strikes again, possibly. Let's find out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, really? Whoa. I'm confused now. Give me a moment. Did the DTC army strike twice? How did this happen? I'm confused.
Like a ninja. I didn't even hear it.
No, that's because, it's a give, send, go. The DTC army strikes. Whoa. We are staying till 11:30, people, because the DTC Army has donated $111.
Whoa. Wow.
Bringing us to $263, easily breaking goal. So now we are at plus 13, and we're going to keep going because there's another donation in queue. So,
and you're stuck with us, Papist.
Now you're stuck with us for another hour, everybody. If you thought this was the end, it is not the end. We have reached our goal, and it is time to play the sound.
Winning.
Wasn't the sound, reader sound. It was like kind of cut off. So we'll start over.
All right, fine. Winning.
All right. So we have reached the goal. So thank you, everyone who helped, and I will continue on putting up things. Did I? Yeah, I did not put in who. Okay, that doesn't help. So the DTC, I don't know if it was DTC or the DTC has a small army of his own. So, it could be anyone with this, but that was amazing. Thank you so much, DTC. And we are.
They must be Venetians. They got a lot of money.
The Venetians. He has an army of moneyed Venetians who are now assisting with everything. R. George says, you have pride masses and doctrinal innovation beyond measure. Yeah, that's true. Orthodoxy is a Mohammedan church, says Hack Mounties. Okay, you're just spewing now. Look, we're here for another hours, Hack Mountie. You have plenty of time to go ask your mom for permission to stay up so you can come on the show and defend yourself. Otherwise, you're going to have to go to bed. And the rest of us grown-ups will stay here and continue talking.
I'm gonna laugh at Hack Pound. He's like a 7-year-old
guy. That'd be funny. It was like, Sonny, that wasn't nice. It wasn't that.
Get off my lawn.
DVD 88 says, Orthodox, that's too bad. After all his videos attacking the true Orthodox, it would have been wonderful. He was a more serious priest when he lived in London, Ontario. I'm not sure. I'm so far behind on this chat.
I know who they're
And
talking about.
says, cool. What happened in 1517, goofball? The Protestant Reformation. Hagbounty says, Orthodox accepted Florence, case closed. Obviously not, or we wouldn't still be here.
Yeah, Mark of Ephesus said, "No, I'm good. I'm going home."
Exactly. That was not. Yeah, it's not how it happened. Let's see here. R. George says, "Didn't the Latins have what? Didn't the Latins have a gay Jew write a document to change the historic Christian doctrine regarding the murderers of Christ? These are the people trolling Orthodox group chats." Yeah, I know.
Are you talking about the Novus Ordo innovation?
Yeah, there was like a converso, a Jewish convert who was gay, and he kind of like he was in charge of the Vatican II thing about like the whole like the prayers for the conversion of the Jews.
Gays in the Catholic Church? How dare you?
Yeah, and exactly, like he found home. But the point is that then he spent the rest of his life writing gay stuff. So
did he found the Velvet Mafia?
Or at least he was part of it. Maximus says, when Catholicism is cool, says Luther was just confused, I guess. Hagbounties, when they sent delegates to Florence, lol. Maximus says, read St. Mark of Ephesus, read the history of the Council of Florence, Hagbounties. It's available from Orthodox Traditionalist Publications for a very low price. Yep.
There's even free versions of it. Come on.
Yeah, you can get it from archive.org, but that would involve him reading.
He's a hack bounty, so he might be hacking stuff. So.
Yeah, except St. Mark. How many delegates from Serbia were sent? Yes, Council of Florence needs to be upheld. What happened when the Bishop of Kiev went home? Oh, well, he tried to go home and they arrested him. And then he ran away and became a cardinal. Little Wing says, wow, yes, times are crazy. Everything is going crazy here. DVD.
He'll just make anybody a cardinal.
I feel like we missed something. Aha! DVD for $5 says, amazing how amazing it would be if the new Alberta GOC priest is the famous Father Mike, the recently beardless, formerly Father Mikhail.
Oh, that guy.
I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know.
I do know somebody that used to be on his videos. I'm looking at you, speaking to her.
Went to bed. He saw that donation. He's like, I'm going to bed. That's it. I'm not having this discussion. But thank you, DVD, for the donation. Thank you for helping keep the lights on as we go to $268 plus 18. And thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and it does help so much. So again, I'm going to add that there. And so we are doing great on this. So the goal reach, we're at plus 18 for the goal. So this is going. Let's see here. You have pride masses and doctrinal innovation beyond measure. Yeah, well, that's about the papists. Yeah, okay.
You read that, yeah.
Okay, let me see here. Okay, we covered the gay Jew. We covered
the gay Jew.
A gay Jew.
That's just a dime a dozen.
It's like, oh, that sounds delicious. Oh. This is terrible. Okay.
And today we offer the rainbow version of the Jewities.
Well, I start thinking of I don't know if you remember those Harvey Firestein parodies they did on Saturday Night Live.
Oh no.
Oh boy. See, I really am old, kids.
We are going down a rabbit hole. You guys don't want to go.
Next up, say, Mark, how many delegates from Serbia were sent? Yeah, Council of Florence needs to be upheld. No, it doesn't. It was a heretical council.
As would be a robbery council.
Over the chat. Well, because the papists, you have exactly 15 seconds to either join the chat or be banned. Because I am going to start banning. And
then we'll say goodbye. You are the weakest link.
Yeah. So we're down. We're down to 10 seconds. You can still join using the link at the top
No,
of the
no,
chat.
no. Let's be charitable since they accuse us.
Okay, we'll give them 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Romagata says, I don't follow X. Can you say if it's okay if Dun Alcapia was there praying with the heterodox? It looked like a heterodox event. I thought it was more a political event. Let's see here. Mark of Ephesus went against the wishes of the laity. Certainly not all the laity.
Why they welcome back with open arms? That doesn't even.
Net the Compromise says, Papists killed Orthos too. Very true, and they still do.
Yeah.
Chad is infected with groypers. It's true. They do sound very groipy. Let's see. So I'm gonna, people are like, it's cool if you're gonna troll. Can you at least be funny or witty or something? That's true. That if they're groipies,
They're papists. They have no sense of humor.
Yeah, papists are just not funny in general.
Especially if they're set of a contest, they take themselves way too seriously.
Matthew Metanoia, yeah, that's true. Set of a contest, especially tradcats, they're just humorless individuals, or their humor is always like it's very snotty. Let me see here. Matthew Metanoia says, I'm sorry about the Latin massacre. Okay, so you accept guilt. Let me see here. 154-1965 says, hi, all. You still around asking for donations? Hello, long time no see. We've actually reached the threshold, but we never say no. So keep that in mind. Let me see. Catholicism School says, I am SSPX. Well, we're done talking.
Bless your heart.
Cats are they're just little groipies.
SSPX, bless your heart.
Hack Bounty says, True Orthodoxy is just a white trash trailer park, according to Dyer. Is that true? No. Dyer is just confusing us with the Diamond Brothers of, Catholicism, because that's where he's from, and because he's Jay Dyer, and he's a dork. And so, let's see. I typed them both separately. Catholicism's cool. Okay, sorry. Matthew says, I outrank every Orthodox and Catholic in terms of what, Matthew?
In your mind.
Romagata says, question, is Nonagapia with the GOC? Yes, she is.
Yes.
Let's see. What do you make of the argument that that the popes were not officially deposed until the Pan-Orthodox Council of 1484?
I like the anti-popes better.
I don't really consider that argument. There were already rejections of the popes in the 11th century, and then by Blocker 9 there was already a full rejection. There were attempts at reunion that failed. Or though it just says, Father, look at the Facebook article. Oh boy, we are all over the place today.
Wow.
Let's see what we got in the Facebook.
You're all over the place, Father.
they're everyone is throwing stuff out there. They are.
You need like 3 monitors at some point. Let's go here and here.
I am checking. I don't have anything in. Oh wait, no. I think he said it was on X, and it was a Facebook. So let us go here. I am confused as well. So let's see. Okay, hold on. I don't want people to see my personal messages. Let's see. Can you prove? Oh my God, made you an. Okay, yeah, that's not it, and I don't know who that is. So it looks like it is a woman. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is the Sweden rules, folks. So all women must get blocked. Sorry. Let's see.
It's a good rule.
It's been a while since I listened, but the details are here. Father Peter Here's ecclesiastical situation explained. Is that the Facebook? Because that looks like a YouTube.
We're still talking about Father Peter here. Did he join the most ecumenist World Orthodox Church?
Yeah, he joined the New Calendar Romanians, the ones that went after whole Orthodox villages.
Yeah, I think his
this
credibility.
Is 2:45, but I don't think we have enough time to listen to a 2-hour and 45-minute stream.
No.
Catholicism schools are sorry. The Orthodox hate the Hail Mary. No, we don't. We use a Rejoice Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women. We don't. The ending we don't use. But no, we have that prayer. It's a doogie. I have a doogie. The doogie is trying to smell my face. Let me see here. Dr. Compromise says, Catholicism school, you're stupid. Yeah, you have a right to say that as you are a kind donor. So we'll just put that up.
There you go.
Orthodox call Jesus Isa in order to appease Mohammedans. Oh, you should really see what they do in Melkite Catholic churches. At least we aren't ashamed of our devotion to Our Lady. By the way, for those wondering, Isa is just usually Jesus in Arabic. So,
Yeah.
Catholics have spent 6 years trying to hide behind a Lutheran liturgy. That's true.
Yep.
Okay, so we can't watch the Peter Hears thing. That's just too much.
Give us a timestamp if you want something specific.
Yeah, if you give us a timestamp, we could do it.
Because he can go on forever.
Yeah, and he does. He does.
And it's a word salad most of the time.
We know. Yes, so is Jesus in Arabic? I've heard both. So Orthodox are just ecumenists. No, we're not. Otherwise, we would like you.
World Orthodox are you? At least you got
World Orthodox are ecumenists. Yeah, I'll grant you that. You're probably their friends of yours. You know that because they figured that they're like you should go on there.
But you guys, the papists, really made ecumenism.
You guys are really big in ecumenism, and the World Orthodox are your sister church. So maybe you should shut up. Because they remember they
are SSPX, so they're confused.
Oh, they say but they still recognize the Pope. Not all Orthodox are. Yeah, the SSPX still technically recognize the Pope. They haven't declared sedevacanta yet.
Okay.
That was the Transalpine Redemptorists who did that. Yes, it was not Arabic word, so it is not Jesus in Arabic. We fulfilled the Great Commission in Luke. No, you haven't. That's not true. You have not preached the gospel to all nations. Where is your church, says Hack Bounties. I'm going to put that on the screen because if you want to know where our true Orthodox churches are, just go down to our description. You can see 2 global maps of true Orthodoxy, and you can find the church closest to you so you can find the true faith and leave the papist heresy. Thank you for that, Hack Bounties. Orthodox hate the Hail Mary prayer. It scares them. That's a lie. We don't.
Well, I think you guys forget St. Peter founded churches in the East before he went to the West.
Yeah, they always forget that. They think that St. Peter only founded Rome.
Yep.
Because they don't actually know their own.
They don't know history.
Calendar.
Yep.
They don't know their own calendar because the old Western calendar actually celebrated all 3 feasts.
Well, they think they accept a robber synod, or they accept a robber synod that they think is a real synod.
I like this. I'm going to put this up because even though he's a papist and he said something really goofy, really foolish. I got to stop saying goofy. Too many people are using goofy. And he said, the Fanar will submit to Rome soon. Well, congratulations, CIC.
Well, great accomplishment there.
We've been saying that for around 55 years, which is probably around 3 times your age. So
whoopie-doo. I think they've already left. They left the hen house already. So.
Leonidas kind of settled, I think, the statement here. Yeah, probably. Let's see. Okay, so Hack Bounty, blah, 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 Rome, blah, blah, blah. R. George says, Leo hit his pectoral cross and took off his shoes to go into a mosque like last month. Yes, he did. I can, if we want, you can post the video. Romagata says, no, they won't. God forbid. You might be surprised. Sometimes these things happen where they go apostate, and then eventually they'll start a new hierarchy. It could happen, a new hierarchy in Constantinople, or we lose Constantinople. All sorts of things can happen.
But is that really a loss?
We'll see.
Not at this point.
Yep. Okay, Hag, you have to submit to the Holy Spirit. You're not even making arguments anymore. So guess what happens? You didn't want to join. You didn't want to come on. You are now making.
You have been banned as a coward. Goodbye.
You have been removed. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. So let's see here.
So if a father keeps saying Goofy, he has to sound like Goofy from the Disney movies.
I refuse. Yard. I don't know. Matthew. Shh. Yeah.
Hey, if
that's
somebody
funny that somebody else was the first person to get banned in the chat, and it wasn't Matthew. So that's pretty impressive.
Good job, Matthew.
He survived. Orthodox Field says
you can stay on the island.
EP finalizing union with Rome will hasten the arrival of Antichrist. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Maybe the EP is the Antichrist.
Ooh, I hate to think that, but it couldn't be this. Couldn't be Bartholomew because he's too old and he's lost all his hair in all those places and stuff.
Yeah.
So Orthodox do a lot of chanting like the Jesus prayer. Fun fact: the Jesus prayer is often used in Roman Catholicism. You probably don't know what a Pieta booklet is because you're probably not a real trad. But if you did, you'd see the Jesus prayer is in there and indulgenced. How do I know that? Because I used to be a papist, young one. Anyway, so let's continue on. Yeah, let's see here. So I think we've answered most of the questions. If you want to give me that the timestamp for the Father Peter Harris thing, you can, and we will do that. Otherwise, we're in the last hour. You have an hour to come in once again. If you want to jump on stream to ask a question or make a comment, click the link in the top of the chat. And so, yeah, that's where we are now. And so,
come on up here and state your
come on up.
Come on, guys.
Here, just click the link. It's this is what we're for. And so we're taking a look. Let's see here. We did reach our total. Help us keep the lights on, of course. So support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XMR, or on GiveSendGo. Just look in the description. How much today do we need to reach? We have actually reached our goal at $18, currently at $268. So thank you so much to everyone who supported us. So we're doing great. By the way, the cafe is now once again fully open for registration. So if you're trying to get registered at frozenhousecafe.com, just try it. And we will do that. So let's take a look here.
If we make it to 300, Father will attempt to do the goofy voice again. I'll do it for you, Father. I'll do it for you. I'll do it.
I'm not good at it.
I'll do it for you, Father.
Elias says, have you seen the clip of Patriarch Kirill slipping during liturgy? I have not. Let's
slipping,
see.
Falling down, slipping.
That's what Memento Mori says. Mori says, what do you mean by slipping? Is it he fell or slipping like he admitted
mentally slipping?
Yeah,
like Biden slipping, or
we don't know. I guess we'd have to see it. These things are usually on the X, so let me type in Patriarch Kirill slipping and see what happens.
Somebody throw a banana peel.
Oh, it could just be him. Let me see here. I believe it or not. Let me try latest.
It's just not good to be a World Orthodox Patriarch this year.
Oh boy,
broken knives, power going out.
Did they actually put music to it? Oh my gosh, they should be really kind of ashamed. Oh, okay. That this is actually slipping it shows a slipping patriarch, but then they just put in a bunch of sodomite stuff. Like gross.
Okay, gross.
Let me see if I can find something better. Okay, this one's better. This one's better. They actually
definitely
of course some weird degenerate account with a Ukrainian flag mixed the slip with some perversion, but so I found it. So let us put that on the screen. What?
That sounds like some of the Ukrainians.
Yeah, poor Ukraine. I don't think real Ukrainians are like that.
No, not real. Just
the degenerates that
degenerate ones.
Yeah, the NAFO people.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go here. So we'll share that, and then Oh, that was a bad one. That was a bad slip. Because look, he's climbing off the Okay, I mean, for those, I guess we can put it in slow mo.
Is that AI? Because that doesn't.
No, I don't think it was. I'm gonna put it in.
That doesn't even sound like a big choir. That sounds like a parish choir. Oh, that sounds big.
Wow. Okay, no matter how you feel about Patrick Kirill, that
might require a hip replacement. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. That definitely hurt. I will say that. Let me see here. Let's see.
Lucky he sells alcohol. He can rub it on his
That's like saying, oh, well, he's a tobacco patriarch. He just has to take a couple of puffs and he'll feel better. Uncalled for. Uncalled for.
Oh, come on. I gotta get one every now and then. Come on.
I know. He fell over. 154 1965 says, I'm surprised to see Orthodox Church come online asking for donations. I am not the whole Orthodox Church. I realize that I have a very, very big Christ tapestry, but I can assure you I am just one priest of many. Romagata says, what are we supposed to do about the control of little hats in charge of U.S. government, and the wrath coming to America? did Reader John join GOC yet? Why or why not? I don't know if you got the paperwork.
I'm not gonna address it.
Okay.
Nothing's changed. I'm not gonna address it.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know what to tell you about the little hats. I mean, they don't really affect my life. I try to, we're growing vegetables in the back, and so there's onions now, and I tell people to kind of do their thing, and if you can grow like things, that helps, and build the most independent state you can while things are continually a constant nightmare. The Orthodox Field says, protect our families and our parish communities. Amen to that. Leonida says, what are your thoughts on Nick Fuentes saying to vote Democrat in November? I don't have any thoughts on Nick Fuentes, like, ever. I do know that, the guy we banned and some other guy were like a groper or a groiper. So, they would have an opinion on Nick Fuentes, but I myself do not. Matthew, Hail Mary is in your Bible. Just be quiet, dork. And that's Reader John with a member chat. Gray Babe says, my thought is that Nick Fuentes is completely fruity. Yeah, I think everyone agrees on that one.
I've never really watched them, so I don't know. Anthony
the Mech says, KG bye-bye. KG bye-bye. KG bye-bye. That's so mean. That's so mean. Poor Patrick Kirill.
Oh, you are spicy today.
Look at this. He's in slow-mo, and he's...
Look at it, like, zoom in on his face.
I can't zoom in any further. And then it's all slow-mo, and then... Oh, no.
Yeah, just look at that face on impact.
Oh,
yeah, that's gonna hurt.
That had to hurt. That had to hurt.
Even with vestments.
No, even with vestments because of that platform. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let me see here. Who cares? Laney says, I'm Canadian. Just curious what the Americans think. I think this says, unless you are young, male, and hate women, you probably don't have an opinion on Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Fuentes, I think, is just cornering the market off of, what's that other guy?
Richard Simmons?
No. The other guy that was like, the guy who got in trouble in Romania. What's his name?
Oh, Andrew Tate.
Tate, yeah.
That guy hated women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think he's a plant that serves as a circumstance. Or they'll just says, okay, I tagged you in it on Twitter. All right, so I am heading back to the Twitter. We are closing this thing, and I am heading back. Notification, Facebook share, Ortho adjust. Oh boy, not this again. No. We talked about this already. You are too late, my friend. You must rewind to the very beginning. No, I did a review of this post about 25 minutes in, and we covered the whole post. It was a good try there, OrthoJust, but it is there. You'll just have to rewind to the beginning.
What post was it? I'm not seeing
it's it. Silouan something or others post.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's just
garbage. Yep.
We covered it. We covered the garbage, so no problem, OrthoAdjust. So Adept to Compromise says Surgeoness gets thrown to the ground by Angel, more likely. Oh, Romagata says looks like L4, L5 injury. Ouch. I assume these are spinal discs of some kind.
Yeah.
Gabriel Michael 43 says he slipped on puddle of water in the highly polished marble floor. That still gotta hurt though.
Makes you wonder who did it.
Little Wing says DTC, my thoughts as well. So apparently multiple people in the chat believe that was like an angel just like, take that. So it could happen. I'm not saying that it did. But is it possible? Okay. Let's see. So he slipped on the holy water, which landed on the ground. Ouch. Yeah, that looked painful. It looked painful, Christos Mosquese. It did look indeed painful. Let me see here as we continue on. Okay.
Did that happen recently?
I don't know. Let me see what I guess I got to go back and see what the date is on that. Hold on.
So it did. He gonna be in the hospital for a while.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Ooh. What's this?
Because he's no spring chicken. You don't heal as quickly.
Let me see. Latest. Huh. It's actually, yeah, here it is. Okay, this was a while ago. Guys, come on, man. That was 2022. 2022, guys.
Oh yeah, he's been in the hospital and back.
he's already back from the hospital.
Oh well, that lost its luster a little real quick.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. I did find this. This is fairly recent. Bellstat in English, January 27th, said, "Coincidences are not accidental. A Russian metropolitan confused presidents." During a conference of military chaplains in Moscow, Metropolitan Jonathan made a slip of the tongue. At the beginning of his speech, he began listing the individuals on whom the Ruski Mir depended and listed the president of Ukraine first. However, he immediately corrected himself and said, "Oh, sorry, I said it by mistake. It's the president of Russia." He then directly linked Putin and Patriarch Kirill, calling them the founders of this movement, to strive for a better future and heroes. The father of our patriarchate, Mikhail Gundayev, baptized the future president of Russia, and the patriarch himself blessed him for the position of chairman of the Kremlin Church. Okay, this is an MP guy talking. Wow, that's pretty terrible. Ukrainian authorities sentenced Metropolitan Jonathan to 5 years in prison for criticizing Ukrainian schismatics. That's pretty funny. So even still sounding like a pretty awful thing. Let me see. Romagata says, so can you talk? Dead to Compromise says, I'll do a meme about it. Little Wing says, your memes are bangers. Romagata says, so can you talk about injuries that happen in the church? Is it for our sins? People were martyred in church. Yes, people have been martyred in church. I don't think that was for their sins. I think that was.
I just want to say, I want to see you guys wear a cassock.
You people slip. I mean, I have slipped. I remember when I went to Greece. That was really one of my most embarrassing moments because it was a really big feast, and they wanted me to do a little litany, and I did it in English, and they kind of approximated my size to give me a vestment, and so it was really tight. And I read everything, and I thought I did fantastic, and I was great. And then as I tried to climb the step, I realized I couldn't totally lift up my foot to clear the step, and I just kind of flopped right into the altar towards the door.
Oh, yeah.
And but I made it back in. I used my other leg, and I kind of crawled back into the altar there.
I still remember when I was a younger reader doing a pre-sanctified liturgy and doing the prayer of Saint Ephrem, and you know how you're going down, and then when you're trying to get back up real quick,
you can easily trip.
Yeah, step on your own cassock and face plant.
Yep. Easily. That's an easy face plant. It has happened to me before. I mean, I've talked about some of my, the greatest hits in church there. My personal favorite was the one where I thought that I was becoming holy and then realized that I was on fire. That still gets me because I felt like this warmth and I was like, wow, maybe I am finally becoming more spiritual. And then I started smelling like, the burning, and I turned around and realized I was too close to a candelabra and I was on fire. So anyway, yeah, they never forgot me in Greece. I doubt it. Little Wing says, and Formagat says falls are funny anywhere. Yes, falls are funny anywhere. Unfortunately, that is true. All right, so we are now at 1541965 says, Father Joseph, are you married? Yes, I am. And going on 19, 20 years? 20 years. And so, okay. Oh, no. You see, the dog is giving me a bowl, which means that the dog wants a snack, and I don't have any snacks up here. So this is a problem. I don't know what to tell you, dog.
I just did this for you, buddy. Help me out here.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dugo. Poor Dugo. Oh, man, that's depressing. Yeah. Very sad. The dog wants snacks. You know what? Let me see here. I mean, would it be okay if I went and got the dog a snack? I feel like
go for it.
I don't know. Romagata says, "Let's see the dog again, please."
You're gonna get the puppy dog eyes.
I don't know that I don't know how to do that. Give me a second. Hold on. Let me see if I can get a picture of the dog. Give me a moment. Hold on. I'm trying to figure this one out, dude. All right. So I got to go to here. And then I'm going to go to YouTube. And then I'm going to go to my own channel.
Dog's like, come on, dude. Give me food.
I feel so bad. I'm like abusing this poor dog. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to go to the live. And I'm going to go to the pinned comment. This is a lot of work. The work we do here.
Is your dog joining StreamYard?
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I don't know if I can do a StreamYard here. I'm trying.
I'm about to do a separate account.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I can do a separate account or I have to go into the chat. So I guess if I switch account, maybe I can. Hold on. I got it. Let me see if I can find the link. Let's try on X. Maybe that'll work. And yeah, so Doggo is going to go savage on 154 says, Father Joseph, do you have your own church? Are you a real father in a real church? If yes, why don't you ask your church to help you with donations? Because this is the work I do. I don't know why you're asking questions like you're a total stranger. Oh, is this are you? Wait, I remember him. That's the Muslim guy. Okay. Hey there. How's it going? I forget. What was his name again?
Aladdin.
Let me see here. Well, what's this? Jim Bob.
Aladdin.
Jim Bob says these people are liars. That's all they do on the X. Give me a second. That's a pretty interesting claim. So Jim Bob, I happen to like his memes, but apparently he's very angry at us these days.
He can get mad and giggle.
In what ways was Father Peter's situation similar to that of a priest who follows an opposed and defrocked patriarch? Synodal deposition, which has been recognized by the entirety of the communion. Well, he wasn't under any patriarch for 5 years. So, yeah, there's kind of a similarity there. Unfortunately, Jim Bob, no, not quite. But at least, hold on, I wouldn't want to. Oh, Maximus is here. Welcome, Maximus. Hello.
Hey.
How's
Hello,
it going?
can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, there's another. I saw that this was about Craig's stuff was mentioned, and I've done some research on that that I thought would be helpful. But also in regards to, the deposed patriarch. This isn't the only time that there's been a patriarch that the Jerusalem Synod has tried to resist and overthrow, and people recognize that trying to fight back wasn't, uncanonical, because in the 40s, the Jerusalem Synod tried to depose their patriarch, and Metropolitan Anastasi of Roquefort actually ordained new bishops for the patriarch.
Oh, I wasn't aware. That's an interesting detail. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, because when Bishop Leonti ordained bishops for the GOC, he basically said, well, didn't we do the same thing? Didn't we already interfere in another church when we sent people to ordain new bishops for the Jerusalem Patriarchate because the Patriarch didn't have a single other bishop supporting him?
Interesting.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, but
you can't state facts like that. They don't like that.
Yeah. Well, I just found out about this. There's a lot of canonical facts that are just large. You were talking on that stream about how all the autocephalous churches are recent creations.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean they're illegitimate, but there was a lot of canonical weirdness and strangeness and stuff that has gone on.
I would go so
in the
far
20th century.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact is that these new creations, as much as they may, we can argue about the canonicity of whether or not they had the right to do it. But the simple reality is that they are still recent. They are not part of the ancient tradition of the church.
Yeah,
and so we don't want to give the impression that they are.
No, 100%. No, they're all products of post World War. basically collapse of the Ottoman Empire,
Mhm.
post World War One, and all the shenanigans with the ecumenical patriarchate, created a lot of these. You know about that probably more than me, but about Craig's video, what I wanted to briefly say is because he's made some pretty bold claims, and I've done some research into it that I think might be helpful for people.
Okay.
And the two claims are basically that one, that if you do a parallel jurisdiction, you just void. The sacrament is just voided immediately, right?
Well, that's a problem for the new calendars, though, not the old.
And then the other claim is that, well, it's okay. We have all these parallel jurisdictions in America because they're like barbarian lands, basically.
I don't know if I would necessarily use parallel. I would use overlapping.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like the idea is that you have one bishop in every administrative civil area. I mean, that's the
one
concept
bishop for one place.
Yeah, well, for literally one city, in apparently the diocese governance structure is based off of like an administrative unit in the Roman civil law.
Well, America is a canonical irregularity.
Yeah. But the point is that they say, well, you could do parallel jurisdictions here, and we could have like 6 bishops in New York City, and their ordinations aren't void because it really doesn't belong to anybody, and because it's a quote unquote barbarian land. And I can't find anything that there might be. I mean, I get what he's saying, but the barbarian land theory comes from this one canon from the Council
Canon
of
28.
Chalcedon.
Canon 28.
It's the ecumenical patriarchate's interpretation.
It's not about all places outside the empire. It's about this one region, is what I think most people allege. And it's not saying that outside the empire it's a free-for-all. It's saying there's this one region outside the empire, it belongs to the ecumenical patriarchate.
Right.
Ever since the 1910s or 20s, the ecumenical patriarchate has claimed the entirety of planet Earth outside of the autocephalous churches.
Yeah, that's
Canon 28 was the original.
Yeah, and that's their
right. Canon 28 had it
was very limited scope,
but then it kind of became universal. With the kind of the first without equals
with Meletius Metataxis. It's all this. When you trace it back, it all goes back to what was going down in the 1920s. And the other thing is that it's just not true that America's this barbarian land. We can do whatever we want. Even if it was the case, there's not a canon that says you can do that.
Well,
but even if it was the case, there's 3 jurisdictions that have a claim to be the solitary jurisdiction in America. The EP, and then ROCOR and the OCA through the Russian. The
OCA is really just ROCOR and denial.
Yeah. And they both claim that they're legitimate successor of Russian diocese in America. So beyond that point, the other issue is this concept that if you create a parallel jurisdiction, you just void the sacrament. I have looked through. I can't find some of the canonical commentators like Zonaras. You have to go in the Greek.
That doesn't even make sense because that would void out St. John Chrysostom.
Oh, exactly. It voids out like the Church of Bulgaria. It voids out
Bulgaria.
Things even in the all many situations that arose in church history. It would void the Moscow Patriarchate because Craig says that they were the uncanonical parallel jurisdiction. So it's like, it would void all the ROCOR bishops because the ROCOR bishops were, kind of across the whole world, these sort of because it was for a diaspora. It wasn't for necessarily like a physical place. The point being is that if you just look in the rudder, and my understanding is that the commentary from the rudder is by Macraxus, which we don't necessarily take everything.
Well, not all the commentary, just certain part. Like if you look at not the Cummings translation, which includes Macraxus, but the Master John translation that is for most online stuff, the majority of Makrakis's commentaries have been taken out.
Oh, is that the one that says like Holy Orthodox Church? It's like a big PDF.
Yes, the one that has the links between like the councils and things like that.
Yeah. So then this is Saint Nicodemos. So I've looked at Saint Nicodemos, Saint Nicodemus Malash, because there's this one canon that does use this word void if you don't get the Metropolitan's approval. But
that's the first time I've heard someone use different pronunciations for the same name.
Yeah. My bad. Yeah. If you look at
Nicodemus,
is it Maximus or Maximus?
Yeah. It depends on what side of the bed I wake up on. It depends. It depends on where I go to church. But no, so I'm speaking a lot. But if you just look at the comments on these canons in the rudder, Saint Nicodemus is really clear that void doesn't mean it voids the sacrament. It means it's legally without effect. It means it's an illegal action that you could be deposed for, but it's not.
It has to be enforced.
It doesn't void the sacrament.
Yeah,
and you can just read this in the commentary of the rudder. And then Saint Nicodemus Malass, he has something about ordinations, and he breaks it down where he says this is what it needs for validity. This is what it needs for canonical legality. And this is what it needs for canonical legality. And he acknowledges that there's exceptions where you can create a parallel, cleric for, these sorts of exceptional situations.
Which has also happened in history,
that's happened many times, which is why I recommend History of Resistance. Leonidas brings up some points to cover here. He says, Craig also argued that the side of Paulinus of Antioch during the Meletian Schism was uncanonical since Lucifer Cagliari, who consecrated him, was not a member of the Antiochian Synod. But Paulinus of Antioch was recognized by Rome, which gave him considerable weight. Leonidas said the church recognizes Meletius of Antioch as a saint, not Paulinus. It has been debated. Some argue that they're both saints. The compromise says North America is quite barbarous. And Leonidas says, could Maximus provide some more details on the schism in Jerusalem in the 1940s? Some sources. And so then Romagata says, in short, what is Maximus saying? So once again, folks, we are here for another 25 minutes. So if you want to jump on the stream to ask a question or make a comment, just click the link. I was not able to successfully find the link on my phone to photo my dog, and the dog has left. So I don't think it's not actually my dog; it's Machishka's dog, and so I feel like I don't know if I can violate the dog's privacy. But yeah. Anyway, continue on.
No. I guess what I'm just saying is that the whole argument about it being void, you just go to the canons, go to the commentary, and he says this can't mean void because there's other canons that say, for example, an ordination is void if you don't announce where the priest is assigned to, which isn't really in use anymore. So he's like, if this really meant void, it would void everybody. So he says that's the summary, is that he says it just means it's not canonical, it's still sacramental, and if the state church wants to depose us, they can try to do that, but they haven't even attempted.
I do want to get to this because apparently Jim Bob is continually arguing on X here, so I'm going to add this to the stage. And I'm going to just get to the latest claim he makes, which is kind of foolish. He says, you're doing an external critique. The original criticism was that EO is being inconsistent in their view of Claypool and healers. We didn't ask for the true Orthodox position. We don't take you seriously. Well, I don't care if you take us seriously. The claim that was originally stated that caused the discussion was that Chase Haggard was attacking Father John Claypool as schismatic while he's not deposed from World Orthodoxy. What that means is because Father John Claypool was received in by Patriarch Irenaeus. Back when you guys recognized Patriarch Irenaeus, you needed to depose him or remove him. You couldn't just canonically do nothing with him and then claim he was deposed. That's called I made it up. And you can't do that. So from a legal standpoint, that is your problem, not mine, and certainly not the true Orthodox. Now, we can fix it if Father John realizes it's probably better to go to the true Orthodox. And again, that's not your problem either. So if you want to get
also just the abuse, I mean, of this. So didn't he say on that stream last night that he's been giving he and his family pre-sanctified communion for like
for years. Yeah,
for a decade.
I've done that, but that was because I was a deacon. But yeah, it is
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
To see a priest suffering.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody says, "Whoa, DTC pose." Nice. Lots of DTC posts today. What can we say? The Venetian army has spoken. So, so yeah, let's see.
But this might be a legality thing too. I mean, because this is the issue that they play in this, in the State Church of Greece, where it's like, oh, this will create legal complications, and drama if we like actually depose you. So instead, we'll just tell people that, you're okay. Well, he's outside the church.
Yeah, well, just you can't. You still have to follow procedure, or he's retired, or in a.
I think the main use I've seen of Canon 28 is like having 2 metropolitans of Thessaloniki.
Yeah.
Well, that's another issue is that these people will say, I think it's Canon 28 is also about like if there's parishes attached to a bishop for over 30 years, you can't remove them, and they'll say like, oh, that means that the EP can no longer contest. I don't really think it was meant to apply to this situation, but like, oh, the EP can't contest Ukraine anymore. It's been over 30 years. Well, we've existed for over 30 years, and you haven't bothered to do anything with us. So,
yeah, well, this is stupid. I'm just writing back Jim Bob saying the real parallel was that no one was claiming either. But Jay takes this seriously, though, because we're dangerous CIA agents. We're out to get him. And that's, is that too mean? Is that too mean?
I mean, does it warrant a response?
I wouldn't warrant.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
I wouldn't even. Yeah. I mean, he's named Jim Bob. Come on, Father.
All right. Okay. The floor has it. Welcome back, Father Boniface. How's it going?
I've been here. I've been listening. I just wasn't on the video. That's all.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, we're in the final 18 minutes. Oh, go ahead, Reader John.
You know what's interesting, Maximus? That all of what would be called world orthodoxy at the time held both Metropolitan Anthony and Metropolitan Anastasia in very high regard. Mm-hmm. Hence why Metropolitan Anastasia helped ordain for the Jerusalem Patriarchate, right? Yeah. A lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
And, with the newer narrative that Rocor was in heresy, and that's why some in Goarch do not recognize St. John.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a matter of, there's like a narrative that's been pushed in the past few decades that just doesn't meet with reality.
Yeah.
I think they're just kind of butthurt when St. John made a assessment of the ecumenical patriarchate that they did not like.
Yeah, well, and also I think that view also helps the OCA because they could justify what they did by saying, well, look, Rocor was like kind of like this weird thing that was fringe, so we did the right thing by leaving them. But yeah, I mean, are you kind of talking about like Ethan Wayne and the whole that he's been on?
Oh, he's on a kick, but I find it funny that a lot of the Ortho Bros are really angry at him, and a couple of them actually kind of embarrassed themselves
because he's bringing receipts.
He's bringing receipts. You can't argue with the receipts. Let me see here. Romagata says legal beagleism. Debt to compromise says woof. Romagata says, isn't he employed by the KGB? I don't know if he's employed. Maybe he works for free. Ancient Churchianity says, haha. Debt to compromise says, I was going to reply to him. Jim Bob. Little Wings says, with a member chat says, good, D2C. And I say that was always allowed. So in any case, let's take a look here. So yeah, fun with Jim Bob. Yeah, please go ahead. But yeah, so again, we are now in those last 15 minutes. So if you want to jump on stream to ask a question, make a comment, just click the link in the top of the chat. That even includes you, Aladdin. I know that you're mad that, somehow we collected donations, but Thanks for helping keep the lights on. Support us by subscribing or donating at NFTU.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XSmart, or Give Us and Go. Just look in the description.
I don't think it's the donations. I think it's because we hurt his ego.
Yeah, he's been mad ever since that thing. Was it Maximus or was somebody else who came on and he got mad?
I think it was Maximus. Or
was it? Well, Maximus, was that you when Aladdin came on and he kind of, I forget who that was. That was you? Yeah. Wow, you came back just for this. We hadn't seen Aladdin in months.
Yeah, and it was he was so ready to go about the whole Abraham, the multiple wives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, essentially, he supports the ecumenist position, so I just disregard it anyway.
And I honestly didn't know that much. I mean, I kind of was like, hey, I kind of want to make my point. I mean, to be fair, I didn't want to skip what he was saying because I was like, Old Testament, multiple wives.
And that was fine, but then the way he flipped out was crazy. And I think it's just funny because we haven't seen you in a while, and I hadn't seen Aladdin in a while, and you both showed up again at the same time. Aladdin's probably fuming. He's like, it's that guy again.
Yeah.
DTC says, okay, I commented. Okay. I don't know where he commented. I don't know if
under Jim Bob, I'm sure.
Yeah, but the question is where. Hold on.
Is it on X, TTC?
It's probably on X, but the question is where is because there's a few comments back and forth, and unless I've been copied in, I may not even see it. But let's take a look here. Yeah, it's on X. Okay. Oh my God, there's so many Rocore talk so much smack about GoRGP, but don't see its own Rocore MP faults. Why is that? Honest, respectful question. Because they're hypocrites and don't want to admit that they're hypocrites. That they've basically violated their own history over the past 100 years for the sake of a union that is now 19 years old and has produced nothing but public humiliation for them.
Well, they've been silent most of those 19 years.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Let me see. Okay, so he says reposted my comment. He really wants. Let's see here. Let's go to DTC and.
At least they finally kicked out Sister Vasa. That was one good thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but what they kicked her out for what, being friendly with people with Ukraine.
Well, yeah, for political reasons
it wasn't
versus actually supporting sodomy. But
no, it wasn't sodomy, it wasn't ecumenism, but if you play around with it
was Ruski Mir.
Yeah.
Mess with Ruski Mir and everything is the problem. All right, so Debt to Compromise came in saying, no, your ilk is losing the info war. I am not scared to get ratioed in the likes. Total TO victory. The church and history is on our side.
And then Father goes in there and all he puts is facts.
Oh, you think I should add that? I should put that.
Yeah.
Or you could do the emoji where it's the finger just pointing up.
No, and then he does the emoji where he drops the mic.
Is that's an emoji? There's a mic drop emoji?
I thought there was, but excuse me.
Yeah.
Apparently I can't laugh without coughing.
There's a sideways mic. I guess that is the mic drop emoji. I'm gonna just put that. All right, there we go.
Worst case, you can put the words in mic drop.
I'm not.
Yeah, that seems too complicated. That seems too complicated. All right, so let us. Okay, I'm closing Facebook. This is where I start closing stuff, guys. So I am closing the. Let's see, Google Voice. I am looking here. That's let's see here.
That's what you need. You need a Google Voice number for calling in.
Well, I mean, I have a Google Voice number, but I don't think it works with StreamYard.
Yeah.
Let me see here. I reposted my comment. Leonida says, "What are you saying?" Romagata says exactly what I said. What's your question? Leonida said, "Your question doesn't make sense. To simplify, why does Rocore do so much smack talk when in fact they have things they should be embarrassed about themselves, and specifically Rocore and P?"
Because apparently I have amnesia from over 19 years of being with the MP.
Yep, basically. I'm closing the cafe. I am closing the Dictatus Popeye. Let's see.
Popeye's chicken.
I wanted to ask
the Dictatus Popeye's chicken.
Do you see? This is something I had the thought of with all the stuff with like Ethan Wayne and Ruslan and all these Protestant guys, do you see like something kind of in this whole drama?
Oh,
You
I
see
do.
something like providential?
Oh, I see some.
Absolutely,
I
I
see
do.
some with Ruslan specifically myself.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
put it to you this way: and I think this is one of the things that they fundamentally don't understand, which is why I commented on it on X. And what that is that they're like, multiple people have commented, well, that doesn't seem right. Like, you're supposed to be against ecumenism, but you're using these Protestant channels to have a voice. Well, last I checked, they were using those Protestant channels to attack us.
Yeah.
So, from my perspective, as I said at the beginning of the show,
Hmm.
the true Orthodox and the world Orthodox are in a conflict as to who represents the Orthodox Church. And we can do this ecumenically, non-ecumenically, so on and so forth. But the point is, we want to establish who is, in fact, the Orthodox Church after the nightmare of the 20th century. So even if I don't achieve any agreement with Protestants, which I obviously won't, because of the fact that the only agreement that can be achieved is if they become Orthodox, at least they know who the real Orthodox are. So from my perspective, go ahead, Reader John.
The thing with Ruslan, though, like, he's hosting these World Orthodox guys that are trying to grind the axe. Looking at you, Jay Liar. I mean, yeah. Jay Liar. And then,
they've got a horrible picture of what Orthodoxy is from there, and I'm not going to try to butter it up or make it nicer. But the point is, at least it's got to be more honest. But, if they, what's the point if they're Hydra papists, and that's what I'm going to call them, because ultimately, go ahead.
But here's the thing with Ruslan: he's intelligent. He's going to take advantage of it because guess what? He gets traffic. What does traffic bring? Money.
Well, the point is, I'm not going to question his motives, because I'm sure that we could say that, but the simple reality is he could also just be angry because dealing with Jay Dyer is infuriating. We know that he's just an awful person to deal with, and so the whole point is,
I mean, I'm not factoring that out, but I'm just saying, like,
it's awfully convenient for us to exist, is the point.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think it's also just because it's like it's kind of a kill shot.
Yeah.
Especially because this doctrine of outside the church there's no salvation, the one church, is so prevalent in Ortho-Bro apologetics.
Yeah.
And
even though they're liars about it, because that's not their real position.
Yeah. I mean, I hold these people in far more respect than but like the Ephraimites even. I remember I went to a monastery with someone, and the first thing they told them was, they were inquiring, the first thing they told them was like, okay, just so you know, if you're not Orthodox, you can't be saved. That's the first thing they told them.
Well, here's the embarrassing part about the Ephraimites, because Bishop Enoch, when he was young, and he first became Orthodox, he tried to join the Ephraimites. Told him the exact same thing. And so he said, well, what do I have to do to be baptized? I want to be baptized Orthodox. And they said, oh, well, we can't actually do that, because the Greek Archdiocese was not allowing people who had certain Protestant baptisms or Roman Catholic baptisms.
Same thing happened with me. Yeah.
And so he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, well, we got this guy, which is ridiculous. You have a priest who can't baptize. You have some like layperson going in and doing the baptism. And then you have the priest doing the chrismation. It's the stupidest thing in the world. And so, he started realizing that was insane. That's an insane position to take.
Or they just send you over to Mount Athos if you're a guy, and they're just like, yep, we'll take you to the sea and dunk you in there.
Yeah. Here's your plane ticket.
It's wacky stuff. But
but the point being, you could defeat. It's the biggest, like, you're gonna talk all this smack. Well, like, aren't you talking this smack in like disagreement with your entire hierarchy? Like,
Yeah. Well, that's the other part.
With the Protestant.
They have to maintain this level of anonymity because of the fact that they know their own bishops don't back them up. And that's embarrassing and shameful, but that's how they live, and they think that because they've got the endorsement of the dire discord, that they're living perfect Orthodox lives, and that's a shame, because what they're really doing is hamstringing themselves from really experiencing Orthodoxy.
Yeah,
the-
yeah,
but the-
and that's why we gotta have a political movement, right? Because going to church, isn't enough, right? We gotta have something.
I'm glad somebody on that video you were on yesterday brought up how he handles himself with the foul language he uses and the tactics he uses. I mean, apparently even the Protestants can see that how he treats.
Well, that was actually one of the fun things that I liked pointing out because so few people know about what I said. And if you haven't watched it yet, I can just simplify it here. That the reason they do that is psychological. It is because of the fact that they want to tell themselves that they are humble by using crass and coarse language. So if you attack them for using crass and coarse language, then they feel vindicated, like they really are humble because they're being put down by over pietistic, people that.
Yeah, but I still don't understand how that makes them humble, where they even got that thought.
Well, the point is that's the great mystery of it, because that's where it comes from, Dyer, etc., and the leaders in that movement. It comes from saying that this is because we're doing this because we're just admitting honestly that we're not good people.
Yeah,
well, no offense, you're supposed to try to be a good person.
But here's the thing: Jay Dyer usually directs those words against other people. And other people are created in the image and likeness of God. So what are you really doing?
I think, in all honesty, at his level, and I think he's smart enough to realize this, he's just making excuses to curse like a sailor and act like an idiot.
Well, yeah, I know that, but
he's convinced his followers that they're doing something virtuous.
Yeah, well, and you can't counter signal that because.
You can.
You can.
That's how like I told him yesterday. The best way to counter signal is to say, "Stop cursing at me, bro."
Yeah.
Because you don't make a moral judgment. You just tell them to stop acting like.
Yeah. Well, if you're in that scene, you can't counter signal anything.
Oh no,
because that's where the approval and the views.
Oh, you get kicked out of the cult if you do that.
Yep, exactly.
The cult leader will. Yeah.
I guess we're in a system now. I guess we're in a system now where there's no authority. If you were Orthodox and if you desired to be Orthodox, wouldn't you be searching for an authority to submit yourself under?
Well, they think their authority is the guy. It's not.
And you know what a great example of this is that there was something about the doctrine of penal substitution where there's a big, we know this goes back and forth, but it was one of the times when this started being a big fight. People started asking questions about it, and I remember that the Deacon Ananias guy was sort of like saying a bunch of weird, evasive...
FDDA.
Yeah, saying a bunch of weird, evasive stuff. This is also where you get the, you can't really read the fathers. But he was avoiding a bunch of stuff, and everyone was kind of avoiding talking about it. And then after 4 days of not a word from Dyer about this, Dyer puts out a picture of, I think, something, that dogmatic theology, the one from Jordanville, the Pomazansky one, about he says, "Oh, this is my position," right? And then everyone immediately says, "Oh yeah, this is the position.
This is our position.
Yeah, this is our position. This is the the Orthodox position.
They're drones."
Wow. Yeah.
But anyway, so we are now. It's 11:28, so I am going to read the endings. They're going to read my amazing script, my closing script, my good night script, folks. But in any case, I shall do that now, real quick. And Leonidas with a final comment says, the royal court consecrations in Jerusalem in 1927 took place with the approval of the Patriarch. Correct. Lindorf says, is it okay that World Orthodox, is it fair to say World Orthodox Orthobros are basically just neocons at this point? Yes. And so finally with that, let me go and say thank you to everyone, to our guests, to Father Boniface and Reader John, who are always here and always supportive, Tim Maximus. Did anyone else come in today? I'm trying to think. I don't think so.
I wasn't here
because I was by myself until Father Boniface came. Yeah. And so to our guests, Tim Maximus, to our listeners, to those who had questions and had comments, and to those who support our mission, support the channel. We at NFTU need your help. Support us by subscribing or donating at nftu.net on GiveSendGo or on GiveSendGo. We remember all of you in our prayers, and thank you for the support for NFTU. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Little Wing with a member chat says, good night and God bless. All right. And so through the prayers of Holy Father, so Jesus Christ, our God of mercy, on us and save us. Christ is risen.
Truly
Have a
is
great
risen.
night,
Is risen
everyone.
indeed.
God bless you.